Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Miller, and this is Destiny Academy supporting Mind Charity. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, participants, viewers, and everyone who's watching this stream live on a variety of different platforms worldwide. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for supporting this channel, our gaming community, myself personally, and most importantly, thank you for supporting our charitable fundraiser. As you know, presently I'm running a fundraiser for a British-based charity called Mind, and we are trying to generate as much as possible of the donations and publicity for the charity. They provide services for anyone who is experiencing any form of mental health difficulty, and they provide individual group counseling. They have services that are giving you also some advice on the practical side of things. If you have difficulties with your benefits, or if you are perhaps threatened with homelessness or anything else which is endangering your everyday existence, and they really need our help. They need our donations and supports, and that is, I guess, on both levels. One is the financial support through donations, so please be as generous as possible, or indeed through spreading the word by following, posting comments, sharing, and making sure that charity is being introduced to other people who perhaps are not fully aware of the works and existence. So please keep them coming, and everyone will greatly appreciate that. As you know, this stream, as well as any other stream that I do at the present, is in support of Mind Charity, so make sure you contribute. So thank you for that. Let me just adjust my headset, because I can't seem to hear myself for some reason. I do apologize, but it's been a bit tricky. I've got a new setup and I'm still getting used to it. I mean, so far so good, but it's just really odd. It's a very high quality headset, and it does have like literally zero peripheral once you put it on, which means I cannot hear myself but from inside of my head, and that's really annoying and quite disconcerting at times. And obviously I will not be bellowing and shouting to wake everyone up, interfere with the neighbours and cats and dogs and everyone outside my property. Right, so how's everybody today? What are you doing? Are you playing the final shape? Are you trying to really go ahead with Pathfinder? I mean, I was trying to do that yesterday, grinding it for quite a few hours, and unfortunately one of the tasks, and that was to get precision shots with the final blows on sidearm, was very, very difficult, and it was really grindy. I thought I assumed that the Crucible activities were going to be causing me some problems, but I've gone through the Crucible quite fast and completed everything. But the ones on that sidearm were really plaguing me. Anyway, we'll do a bit more of that today, and as you know, there will be maintenance, so I really need to decide whether I'll just carry on talking and tell you all about the channel, the charity, and everything else during the maintenance hour, or whether we'll just hop into the Destiny 1 stream. We'll see, we'll decide. I'm trying to really keep up with the regular schedule, similar to what we had in the past. It's been a bit difficult for me in view of my own kind of health issues, and also my dad's. And, I'll try to really focus on the schedule being in afternoons, so we can engage with our friends in the US, particularly people who are in the different time zone, and that would mean 8 to 9 hours back compared to what we have in the UK. And by the time I finish the stream around 6 or 7 o'clock, some of our friends out there will be waking up, and it's difficult to adjust. But also, I know that some people spend a lot of time playing games at night, so I want to encourage this. I just want everyone to be having a good night's sleep, and also pay attention to the maintenance of your health, because this channel is all about health, mental health in particular, and then the well-being of our gamers, and providing support to anyone who is in the need. So I've seen some comments yesterday on the chat indicating some competitive elements, and they were sort of linked to getting better, being more able, etc. Well, we provide advice and tutorials here in order for people to learn on how to play the game, but we are not endorsing any competitive players. So if anybody wants to play competitively, please don't come in here, go elsewhere, because obviously it is against the channel rules, and it's against the creed that we have here, as well as the direction that everything we do here is clearly, defined through charitable works and help and assistance to those who are in the need. So very important to keep this in mind. We are not here to be getting better at getting scores. We don't do that here. It's just not that channel. We don't provide any of it. What we are here is to get advice in order for people to get better with life, so they can get on with independence, they can maintain their health, they can resolve certain issues, particularly if they're being plagued by emotional difficulty or disability, or any other illness, as we've seen with COVID and anything coming out of the dreadful pandemic, the collateral that people had, some damage to their body due to the virus, and therefore they had difficulties in bringing themselves back to the everyday normality. So we are here to help and support, irrespective of the game, irrespective of any form of genre or direction. But I guess I just want to make a clear distinction, because I had a couple of messages arriving overnight indicating whether we are changing direction, and obviously that is not the case. So I just want to say to anyone who wants to be getting better at getting scores, please do not come here, go elsewhere, and please do not interfere with the creed of the channel, because we are not here to be competing. Right, has everyone been watching yesterday Ubisoft Connect? I want to see and want to hear anybody. Well, it was a very good presentation, and we've had, still can't hear myself, and try to, yeah, that's going to be better. Right, we had quite a selection of new titles presented by Ubisoft team, and there are several heavyweights that we've been eagerly kind of anticipating for quite some time. And I guess the biggest two biggest presentations were attached to the largest or the greatest AAA blockbuster titles, and you will know from the experience and announcements that those two are Star Wars Outlaws and then Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I would say I was very pleased with both presentations. Bit surprised with some elements of Star Wars from what I gathered, and I thought some of it looked a bit like a combination of some other games that we've seen from Ubisoft, maybe some stealthy approach, similar to Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon, and Assassin's Creed, and then some interactive experience of open world. And I'm quite curious to see how this would work in practice. And we've seen a fantastic presentation last year, which really attracted a lot of interest and excitement. And I think that this one, I can't know about it. It wasn't down to the game; it was more down to the way the game was presented. There was like one small bit of jigsaw puzzle missing. I'm not sure exactly what it is. We'll see how it goes with the title. But there was something in there that didn't quite gel with me. I'm not 100% sure why. And I was quite interested to see that there are some other reviewers and people who are in the know in the industry who also felt the same. I've seen it on Twitter, and I was very surprised. I've got to say that Eurogamer is the hub I use every single day for the news and everything, literally coming hot off the press. They had a very negative viewpoint on the game, and I've learned that their reviewer, who's one of the editors, had the privilege of being able to play a demo prior to the actual presentation. So he had about 90 minutes of it, and he felt that in-game mechanics and some of the ideas were very much like what you've seen in the Uncharted series at the beginning of the last decade. And I think that's taking it too far. It didn't seem to me like old gen or a game that's been very retro in any way. But don't forget, you are talking about the female version of Han Solo. You're talking about Star Wars. You're talking about the elements that will, I guess, strive towards some elements of retro. Going back in time, people playing Space Invaders. We see right at the beginning of the presentation, we've had the lead character doing Space Invaders. They call them differently, but it's a like an arcade game which you can be enjoying and playing in there, like a game within a game. And that's just a reminder of the retro elements that you will be getting in such titles, and I think that will be an asset to the game. But I'm trying to think what really. I think maybe it was something. There was a slight discrepancy between the cinematic visuals and what we've seen when the lead character was doing the action, and I think I was really kind of struck by that. That was probably the main thing, more than anything else about the story or what they presented. The other thing is significant is that the protagonist will have this companion called Nyx, and this companion will be doing stealthy activity in order to neutralize opponents, and so that's also something new. And I guess it will be merging with the idea that Assassin's Creed Shadows is also presenting, two different approaches: a samurai and the assassin, and then you have either very stealthy assassin or kind of guns blazing, I should say, or sharpening the swords type of samurai who is engaging with every enemy, and leaving it to the choice. I don't think the choice was visible in Outlaws. It was more like dependent on the situation. Definitely huge excitement about the game, and they talked about a very vast universe with a lot of open world, with plenty of different areas to explore, which I really like. And we need to see how active some of those open world landscapes are going to be. As we've seen in some other games, initially they were not particularly busy, but then as the time went on, they were introducing different activities, different enemies, different tasks, and I think it needs to be kept in mind that if you're creating a massive big open world universe, there is going to be always this opportunity for that massive big galaxy or planet or whatever to be very busy in due course. You can bring in DLCs, updates, new content, and that is going to be of huge benefit as you carry on playing the same title. Don't forget, there's a very big difference between Outlaws and Starfield. It says Stargate. If you watched the film as well a little while back, Ronald Emmerich's film with Kurt Russell. There's the benefit for these types of games because these are not multiplayer games, and you will want to be getting extra DLCs and extra content as we were getting over the years with Bethesda titles like Fallout and Dragon Age and the Elder Scrolls series. So that is certainly something I really look forward to. I think the review from Eurogamer was kind of very harsh. I was very, very taken aback, I have to say. I didn't see anything particularly wrong. There was some mismatch somewhere, and it was more to do with the presentation than the actual content. The content looks very good. I really loved the way they recreated the legendary city there, which is full of all different kinds of vagabonds, and ideal really, because in Star Wars, the original film, you'll be introduced to several characters in the original, because they have reworked the whole Star Wars. It's the episode 4. It's called episode 4, but basically it's the first one that came out in 1977. And initially, it actually was delivering a different narrative, a different story. So there are two different versions. So if anyone who's a Star Wars fan, they'll know all about it. But anyone from our younger generation, perhaps you're not fully aware of this if you watched one of the later versions, which were remastered, redone with additional sequences. For instance, Jabba the Hutt, we're not seeing much in the original, but a lot more of him later on. And Jabba will be playing a very important part in the game. So, that was enjoyable. And then they introduced also the games like, it's not Sea of Thieves, but what's it called? Skulls and Bones, the pirate game. And I played the game on release, and I thought it was very good. It did combine the element. I mean, the first thing you notice is very similar in concept to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You did have the flavor of the visuals being aligned with the same concept. But on the other hand, this is a multiplayer, and you are to be running different types of activities and battles and everything happening at sea, obviously, being linked to various groups of pirates. And I guess I need to get my teeth more into the game in order to tell you more about it. But what they introduced yesterday was the visuals, how they worked on the textures of the sea, on the ships, on the characters, on the battles. And it was definitely very interesting. I have to say that the game didn't perform too well on release, and that was of great concern to Ubisoft. So they are beefing up on the content, they're beefing up on things offered, freebies in particular. They offer the game to be played free of charge now for a couple of weeks recently, and I told everyone on my podcast to step in to support the developer, because it looks like a very, very good game. And what I've seen initially when I played it was very good and very enjoyable. And you will be familiar with in-game mechanics due to the way things work with some of the other Ubisoft titles, particularly Assassin's Creed. And then they were giving us some tasters of Prince of Persia, and a lot of investment going into the game with additional content and some additional titles. Then we had also news on The Division, and that is very exciting. And I've played The Division 2 already for quite some time, probably a couple of years, and there is a lot more content coming in with seasonal story-based missions, with loot, with lots of activities. Actually rework the structure. It resembles what we are having presently given to us by Bungie in Destiny. And definitely very interesting. So I immediately downloaded the game yet again. I have the full expansion and everything, and I will be playing it as we go along, as particularly due to the fact that they launched this update overnight. So the new content was kind of kicking off today, and I really want to try it tonight to see what the seasons are going to be like with story-driven content, with separate missions every week for The Division. So if you are a fan of the series, absolutely make sure you download it again and try the update and everything else that comes together with it, and the seasons as well. We want to be supporting massive entertainment, and I'm really very, very interested to see what the content is going to be like. And then we had a short presentation on X-Defiant. I thought they could have done a bit more, to introduce the game to people who are not familiar with the concept of importing the characters and the maps from other franchises and creating a very feisty multiplayer. I still have to play it, to confess, I've not downloaded it yet, although I've said many times I will do that. But there are so many titles out there, and there's so many things to do, as well as what I'm doing presently with podcasts and news. So I just didn't have enough time today, and I'm kind of wanting to explore Helldivers 2 and the X-Defiant, just to compare with other Battle Royale games and other PvP survival type of games. So very interested in that. And then we had the big presentation of Assassin's Creed Shadows. And there's been some criticism launched at Ubisoft for changing direction with the game and so forth, so on and so forth. But I thought the presentation yesterday, particularly the kind of toy show presentations, were really good, because they were giving us a lot of direction in terms of what we are going to be getting with the title, plural, as we also watched the other two, The Division and the Star Wars Outlaws, I guess, presented in the same fashion, with a bit of a walkthrough through gameplay, exactly the same gameplay, but with a narrator, basically. And What I like about Assassin's Creed Shadows, what I've seen so far, is this choice. You are given the option to play very stealthily. You want to play the assassin, you can do that literally throughout the whole game, or you can play more aggressively through the samurai. And the world of ancient Japan is phenomenally well recreated. So I'm really, really pleased and really happy with what I've seen so far. Mouth-watering graphics, and also it did appear in those battles and confrontations to be a bit more brutal to what we've seen in recent times. I guess you probably will be able to tone this down if you're not particularly keen on gore, but there is definitely an element of difference, and we need to wait and see how the game performs and how it is going to be embraced by the dedicated Assassin's Creed community. But I think so far so good. I'm personally very pleased, and generally I quite like the idea of continuous progression, from the original stealthy Splinter Cell styled a series to something which is much bigger, with open world, with dialogue, with exploration. And then obviously in this instance you're combining two different types of gameplay, guns blazing or very stealthy, and it's up to yourself to decide. And the activity will be affected by your choices and by your style of gameplay. So definitely something that I'm very excited about. Also, they introduced the special collectors and ultimate editions. They look really fantastic. You get figurines of two characters in there with picture box and steel case editions and all sorts. So anyone who's interested in the series should definitely go and have a look and perhaps purchase one of those. You can contribute. You keep those beautiful figurines on your desk. And I have a friend actually who worked in a local computer shop who collects these figurines from Ultimate and Collector's Editions, and he told me that he had bought on eBay the whole selection of the characters from Gears of War and Xbox-based games, basically State of Decay. And he showed me some pictures, and he has like some doubles, and it looks like really absolutely terrific on his desk. And I guess it's also trading some of them, but his collection was really jaw-dropping. So if you're really a true hardcore collector and video games fan, then you'll resort to these, which are obviously coming from your favorite developer representing your favorite title. So Summer Games Festival came to an end yesterday, and I think that my overall perspective on it was generally very, very positive. We've seen lots of interesting titles, and if we are to be comparing those three heavyweight presentations, the one on the opening night, then Xbox, and yesterday Ubisoft, we can certainly say that Xbox team really excelled. 30 titles, pretty much, most of them heavyweights, and all of them coming on Xbox, both for console and PC, and the vast majority coming our way on that subscription price of the Ultimate. So, very excited about some of the titles, very excited about what we've seen and the way they've done the presentations. But equally, I have to say, other titles, the indie titles coming out of various other publishers during the initial opening night, and then most importantly, the titles I absolutely love and adore, Star Wars and The Division and Assassin's Creed, well presented yesterday, plus these additional titles that I mentioned, Prince of Persia and Skull and Bones. So a lot to look forward to, a lot for us to explore, lots of games to be embraced and tried. And I just keep saying to everyone, make sure you subscribe to those streaming services. I've seen such nasty discussion today. One of our colleagues there on Twitter was asking a question, what's the reason why you're not subscribing to Xbox Game Pass or to PlayStation Plus services? Because, they give you easy access to so many different games. And so many people are categorical about this. I'm never going to do that. I really hate it. I think it's completely wrong. It does remind me of the discussions I get when I meet some of the older generation film goers, the film buffs. And there are people who will not go to cinema today to watch anything on digital. They will want to see everything on 35, 70 or 60 mil. And I just think that's ridiculous. I really, honestly, it's like somebody saying, I don't want to be using a computer, smartphone. I don't want to be switching on electricity or something. I don't get it. We have to move on with times. We need to be flexible. and the new technology and the new means to which we're accessing information and entertainment is bringing us so many benefits compared to the past. I just can't put it into words. I never watched many more films or played many more games than what I've done during the last 10 years, 12 years maybe. It's just been so much better. And we also want to be having quick access to knowledge, because our lifespan is as it is. And you really want to be soaking up everything that comes to you. And I think the biggest argument there is between the ownership and the renting. They see Ultimate and PS Plus as sort of rental service, which is extremely expensive because you don't actually own these games. But at the end of the day, you're trying these games for free. If you want to buy them, buy them. It's not that expensive, the subscription. And many people said, well, not many, several said, well, I bought a large collection through some other hub, buying it cheaper on discount. And everything I bought in the course of 1 year was costing me less than what I would have paid for the Ultimate. But I just think that's ridiculous. That's certainly my perspective. And I don't think it's true to fact either. Anyway, I'm inviting everyone to subscribe to both of these services, and you will enjoy the benefits of the new titles. If you watch those presentations, they're mouth-watering, and honestly, you'll have plenty to do. You'll be able to enter this wonderful fantasy world and then enjoy the activities and make new friends. That's the main thing. You make new friends. It's all about social. It's all about connectivity, trying to make connections and trying to be as upbeat as possible. All right, so let's crack on. Let's see what we've got here. Just wondering when that dreaded maintenance is to kick in, because I've seen some conflicting reports through Bungie Help. So if we go to the director, and if I, let's say, go to Vanguard, and then I want to see what I still need to do for my Pathfinder, right? You'll see that this one here is the dreaded one, 19 out of 30 only, and everything else was complete. No, I've got stand corrected. You need to, I need to be defeating combatants with grenades. So I think we probably go in for another strike, and I'll need to really focus on the sidearm and my grenades. So that's what we'll do next. Just bear with me. I need to change my position because I'm playing my game standing, and then I have to get my glasses. So bear with me a sec. All right, my friends, let's carry on. Let's just get in. It's 1945, and what's mine? Yeah, just about. Let me just double check something. 1938, 1941, 1944. Okay, that's all fine. Go back to the strikes, hoping to be able to complete, because I was trying that yesterday, really. I was hoping at the end of the day, before the reset, just worried that the reset's going to cut me off and I'm going to lose everything that I achieved. That's my worry. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but I was not able to access Pathfinder before Saturday. So I'm wondering whether they will be resetting it today, or whether just leave it. It's like 3 or 4 days is not long enough for, well, maybe for some people they're playing it 24/7, but for us, doing it for 3 to 4 hours a day, or even less, considering that during my streams I talk and you provide with lots of different introductions, information, and everything else. So maybe not the best example, but still, we'll see. It's a beautiful, beautiful day today. When I woke up and went for a stroll, I just want to make that a regular daily occurrence after waking up and exercising. But then suddenly, these dark clouds came over us, and suddenly it was raining so badly. So there's going to be some more rain in the afternoon, because I was intending to go out and then do my news and the usual admin in our local park.
All right,
But
Guardian. This is a smash and grab. Smash some hive, grab a chunk of submine.
And live to tell the
it's
tale.
battleground. Okay. Gone the wrong way.
Battle song emboldens the soldiers. End it.
That's glitched. See that? How many more times is he going to be respawning in there? Yeah, that's pre-maintenance. They'll probably cut us off shortly. Ah, look at this. Fell in the hole. Let's see whether I'm doing anything good in there. Curious. 22.
That perimeter tower to friendly. You're welcome.
Error code guitar. Please, what is going on? Well, you did see that these enemies were just respawning there continuously, so that was definitely not the best. Well, without further ado, let's just get back in. That knight was like self-res, what, 10 times? Being hit by everyone? But that's pre-maintenance stuff, you know, the maintenance will kick in. And I really wanted to complete my Pathfinder in full to see what rewards are going to be given. So I'm kind of in a hurry. I want to crack on as quick as possible, as fast as possible, I should say, to get the best rewards, or to see whether there is a reward for me. Anteater. Okay. Go back in. And the next thing I'll get is maintenance. I bet it's the maintenance. I bet it is. Well, I've got to say that really, this sort of regular maintenance is a very serious issue for anyone who's a streamer. Yeah, that's right. So what we'll do is we'll just sit here and then wait, and we'll do a chat up to a point where everything comes back, and we'll be able to see that seasonal content. But I'm gutted. I'm really gutted, as I believe I will not be able to. Hang on a minute. Bear with me. I just need to. We'll get the dialogue screen up and running. Be nicer than just looking at this. Yeah, finally. It's also lagging today for some reason. Let's see. Okay. So I think I can be telling you all about the Summer Game Festival and everything we've seen. But on the other hand, what I did not mention earlier is after the Ubisoft presentation, I watched that short sort of vidoc. It's again a mini showcase coming from Bungie. I really find it strange that they launched it yesterday without any form of announcement. We've heard nothing at all about it. And it was just suddenly launched. And I even thought that the launch was going to be today, because Echoes, the new chapter or whatever, the new seasonal content is to be, the new episode I should say, is to be starting up today. But it just seems to me that Bungie have been quite rushed ever since the DLC was released, and it didn't seem to be, something didn't seem to be going according to plan. That's certainly my feeling from what I gathered, particularly in view of the first 4 or 5 days of them trying to rechase that raid, and it just seemed very, very difficult, very unsuccessful launch for me. And the content is very good. I'm very happy about it, but it's all been tarnished by the technical problems and many, many complaints. And I think they're trying to kind of dampen the overall dissatisfaction with this information that is given to us. But I really find it strange that Pathfinder, I was able to access only on Saturday, and that was one of the key issues, together with what we've seen, with subclasses like with Prismatic. And I honestly, I don't know what the reason for that was, but I certainly was not either pleased or enthused, and many people were very angry that there was more maintenance within the first 4 days than the actual game time. I think not very few, but not many people managed to finish the campaign before that raid kicked in on Friday night, and it's just an unrealistic target. They should have left that raid a week later, and they could have postponed the episodes again for whatever, in 10 days or so, where everything could be accessible and working perfectly. And I just think that this huge pressure which is being applied on developers today is very, very counterproductive. I don't see that as something that should be happening, and there is going to be a major fallout due to this if it carries on. First of all, there'll be a burnout amongst the workforce, people who work on the maintenance and the creation of various titles, because it's not humane, and you've got to be realistic. It's fine to be delaying, but obviously somebody is not keen on that, and it's just, with due respect, I mean, we've seen like Bungie had suffered tremendously due to these pressures, and I think it's something that could have been avoided. I also didn't enjoy the fact that these showcase presentations were not properly advertised in advance, and I expected one on the day of the Final Shape release, which is natural, as they always had these in recent years. And in the course of this year, this has not happened. They had a pre-release presentation, which I didn't think was as good as the old ones. And then yesterday, out of the blue, suddenly we had a brief presentation on what is going to be happening in episodes. So I hope you all watched it, and hopefully you soaked up some of the content. And basically, it does. I mean, he was asking more questions than providing answers, for my liking. And it looks like the seasonal content will be delivered in acts, and in these acts will have different names, and every act will be giving you some other type of activity that is tied into the overall main major narrative. But it did end with a message that I cannot remember exactly the words, but something about the galaxy still to be explored further, like more things to be happening as we go along in the near future. So that is 2025, and I guess that would be probably from the summer of 2025 at the funny shape, and the episodes will be carrying on for the next 12 months, from what I could gather, right? Was it 12 months? 3, 9, maybe 9 months, I think. Just worked this out. They were talking about 6 weeks per episode, per act. 3 times 6 is 18. No, that's right. Then if it's 18, then that would be 18 weeks. That's 4 months, and more or less. And so we are talking about 2025 from June, July upwards and onwards. So we'll probably get more from the budget team, and we have seen some new enemies. We had, I think, for the one commencing today, it will be about the Vex. The Vex will turn out to be very, very different, and we'll be going to Nessus for the activities there. And I think it's generally greatly admirable when you see that the Bungie team are constantly creating new content, coming up with different ideas. But I just think it could be better if it was better planned and indeed better tested, for us not to be having all these kinds of continuous issues. So that's certainly my take on what I've seen so far. And the expansion has been received really well by the gaming community, and the overall feedback as given everywhere is overwhelmingly positive. So I'm just very, very happy with what we've seen so far, and I still need to purchase the Final Shape. I just think it's too expensive. I really, for anyone who's an avid gamer and a game collector, I have that principle that I'm just waiting for the prices to bottom out, and then I'll purchase everything. I mean, to put in perspective, Xbox presentation was offering 30 new titles. Vast majority of them are heavyweights. So each one of them will be costing anything between $50 to $70 stroke pounds through euros. It's not possible to purchase everything, and it's of huge benefit that we can access most of these titles through our subscription service. It's of huge benefit. And, then still you have the pressure of time. You need to cram in this and that, and the way to resolve this is simply by planning. You decide on what type of game you want to be playing and what time of day. And for myself, PvP games have got to be played earlier in the day, right? So it needs to be earlier in the day because they're very high energy, lots of flashing lights, lots of activity. They kind of keep waking you up, right? And then from, let's say, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., mild RPGs, and particularly those you play before you go to bed, you want them to be as placid as possible, so you can really spread them out throughout the day and choose your titles. In fact, at the moment I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, playing it on PlayStation, offered through the streaming service. I'm playing Death Stranding, again on the streaming service as well, on PlayStations. And then I have Immortals of Aveum on Xbox, which I'm enjoying so far very much. And I've also downloaded now The Division 2 because I want to see the new content, the seasonal content. I want to see what they've done to the game. They said it's been reworked. There's quite a significant difference, so it'd be very interesting for me to come in And I have other indie titles that I told you about, like The Short Hike and Celeste and all the other ones. I talked about them on my podcast on a daily basis. So quite a few, but the way I play these games is systematic, and I'm doing one at a time, which means if I'm playing Final Fantasy VII, let's say tonight, then I'll spend some time on the game, won't be swinging to anything else. Destiny is a different story because obviously it's back to my stream, so I play it more or less every day if I'm streaming on the regular basis. If not, I'm playing a couple of times a week, and just to polish off seasonal activities and everything else that is offered every single week, that is. But it's not a game that I would be otherwise playing, in such volume, for obvious reasons. So there are many titles out there, and as you've seen during the Summer Game Festival, many things are being enhanced in terms of the audio visuals, so the graphics are better. They're trying to really beef up on the frame rate from 25, 30 FPS. They want to have those big games to be 60 FPS, so easier on the eye, easier on the tech as well, more natural movements. And also, if you watched that Call of Duty presentation the other day, coming from Xbox, you would have seen they introduced a new, I'm sure it's engine or there's something new. It's called Omni Movement. So they will make the characters, the operators in the game, to be as natural as possible and as close to real life as possible. And I did watch some of that a couple of times, and I can really see the difference, the way you are in a prone position, then crawling, then crouching, then jumping, then doing all kinds of things. It just seems to be very, very advanced, and you really wonder where all of that is going to take us. You really do, because at the end of the day, it's constantly evolving. And the other day, when Jeff was doing his presentation, we've seen a couple of virtual reality games, and I was surprised to see that some of those really, infested by blood and gore and sort of, proper hardcore horror games, because I don't really want to be venturing out in that horror environment with that virtual reality headset on. I much prefer to go somewhere open world that can be explored, that is perhaps a bit more amicable and peaceful. Nevertheless, that's just my own personal preference. But at the end of the day, anything video gaming is based on technological advances, and more advanced technology, better the games. And as we've seen in recent years, we're getting all these kind of titles coming in, and really a very good Summer Games Festival. I think everyone who is into the indie games would have been very happy to see small quirky titles being presented on a big stage with huge publicity. And many people like playing these games on PCs, for instance. Console games, I think, generally people sway towards blockbusters, and that is as to why they're so incredibly popular. And PvP and the big Battle Royale games. They talked about Palworld the other day on a podcast I listened to. Palworld being a serious competitor to Fortnite, and it's just interesting how they managed to make a very different type of game with the same concept. But it's down to the characters, down to the environment, and down to the type of engagement you'll have when you're when you're stepping into the battles. And this is a thing where Palworld really excelled. So need to monitor, need to play as well to see how it works. But what I've seen so far has been very, very encouraging. So coming back to the presentations, South of Midnight is a game I'm really excited about. I've really liked their presentation last year, and they've given us a lot more. There was proper gameplay in the course of that Sunday afternoon. So very excited about this. And lots of other heavyweights, like there's a Gears of War 6, what's it called, E-Day, and anyone who's played Gears of War from day one will say, oh, that was just such a good taste that we don't know at all what will be happening in the game. But it just seems so good, so well prepared, so well created. Then you have all the other titles, Assassin's Creed Shadows, you have Star Wars Outlaws, you have The Division. They talked about this seasonal content for a while, But yesterday's presentation was brief, but very precise with information. We know exactly what we are going to be getting. I'm quite curious to see how the structural changes, something which is story-based content, will be affecting the overall gameplay of the Division. The Division also has a very, very large community of gamers and followers, and I was streaming it here on the channel at one time for a short while, and we had quite a few people joining us for the game alone, and just the regulars, people came every single day to come in and play the game, and also played it quite a bit outside of my streams. So definitely one of those big and very enjoyable titles. And also, I think if you compare number 1 and number 2, you'll see how the sequel had massively enhanced the gameplay, the characters, and the battles. And in the sequel, the most popular area was the Dark Zone, and that's a gambit. You have PvP against PvE and PvP joining forces together, and that is very challenging and very popular. And I quite enjoyed it. Most people just literally go into the Dark Zone to engage there at all times with the other gamers, similar to what you have in Gambit, where you'd get the invaders. And yesterday there was one invader. He kept popping up in several of those games, and every single time he was chasing me for some reason. I wonder whether he was disgruntled about something we've had here on the stream. It was very, very funny, and he just kept popping up again and again. He was always in this opposing team, and I went to orbit, came back in. He just kept coming back in. Really weird. Right, so the question arising from the weekend is, what are we going to be playing first, and what games are we most excited about? So if I go back, look at the titles, I need to actually go through the whole list, because there's quite a lot of titles, probably about 50, 60 titles. Well, the first and big one that comes to mind is Star Wars Outlaws. I'm very excited about this game. I think Star Wars as a franchise is providing us with a fantastic opportunity for everlasting, never-ending type of series. Massive big galaxy, loads of open world activities, many different characters, so you can make a puzzle to which different planets are connected through the main story and certain characters. And this is a departure from the usual. The usual was very much based on action, adventure, fighting, or maybe flying, and this is like combining all these aspects into major open world activity. I just want to see how busy it is going to be, and what are we going to be exploring when traveling. We didn't get a gist of this yesterday in a presentation. It was more about the lead character and interactivity with others, particularly if she is being brought into some hairy encounters, and therefore you would have a companion fully involved. And the companion is really very, very funny and very jolly. I mean, I quite like the idea, but I just want to see how this will work in practice. So I'm very excited about that game. I'm very excited about Gear 6, of course. I'm very excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows. It just looked incredible. And I played quite a lot of Japanese games during the last 12 months. I played Yakuza and Like a Dragon from the series that played also Final Fantasy of late. So really very curious to see how this will all work in that Japanese environment. And from the presentation yesterday, I would say it's likely to work really, really well. Then let me think what else. Avowed. Avowed is the new title from Obsidian. They worked on it already for several years. And although I didn't quite... You see, the difficulty that we experience as gamers is if we are given one presentation, let's say in course of 1 year, which is very cinematic, very much film-like, and then you go to another presentation a year later, before the game comes out, and you realize actually the gameplay is quite significantly different. I don't think there should be such great discrepancy anymore. I think people are used to the content that needs to be fairly similar. Things need to blend in better. And that was one thing that really caught me. It seemed, how about it? When watching the trailer for Avowed on Sunday, I didn't identify that with what I've seen in the course of the previous presentation last year. So the question is, why? And therefore I'm quite curious to see how the game is going to come across. Obsidian always had a bit of a retro, in the environment or with the characters, and that was visible. I thought what I've seen last year was much more next gen, very advanced. Never mind, it's all down to the gameplay. It's the question of what sort of content we'll get in the title. Let me think what else. State of Decay looked incredibly brutal and very, very hectic. So if you play the other two titles, you will be very, very excited. It's one of the best zombie stroke survival games ever created. So definitely also released on day one. And excited about Starfield. Starfield has that new expansion. Is it called Shattered Space? And to me, it looked like Starfield was, I guess, taking a dive into something a lot darker. And the expansion, the trailer for it, looked a bit like something out of Aliens. It was just very, very unpleasant, very nightmarish. And so I'm curious to see where that is going to be located and what the activities are likely to be. They also said a new update is now going to be given to us within the following 24 hours. And then, to get back to what people had said about this, it already had been fully uploaded and the game had been changed due to this. But the greatest excitement from the gaming community, I guess, was similar to what people had with Skyrim at one stage, where suddenly all the modded activity was being fully integrated. And what I've seen today, particularly on PC World and on a few other hubs, was a huge amount of rage coming from the gaming community, and people love Starfield, about the prices. Because, they said the prices of some of that content are absolutely crazily expensive. So anything from $1 to $7 for something quite trivial is just not something people are prepared to pay for. And I'm a bit surprised, really. They should have been offering this in bundles, or, I don't understand. Maybe the reason for that is the game's been with the Game Pass from day one, and maybe they felt the overall sales, were not really reaching the target, so they want to beef it up with such content. But obviously, it's introduced, it's there today. I wanted to download yesterday The Division and also Starfield, so I could try both games after they've had that full update applied. And unfortunately I couldn't, because together with Destiny they would occupy more than 500 gigs, and my hard drive on Xbox Series S is only 500, and also some of that, about 140, goes directly, is reserved for the systems files, so therefore you have about 360, which can be used for the games. And the big heavyweights are occupying far too much space. Just the case. It looks like I've got to be buying a big external hard drive that will be plugged in for the heavyweights to stay there, so I can just simply walk in and try them whenever something interesting happens, because it's a chore, deleting this, deleting that. But on the other hand, it does help you to be a bit more focused. I felt when I migrated from my Xbox Series 1 to Xbox Series S, the next gen one, that I was a lot more focused. On Xbox One, I had 1 terabyte and loads of games downloaded, be hopping from one to the other. And on Series S, that's not the case. I'm just more focused on the games that I'm actually engaging with. So that is the difference. And there are pros and cons. I just think when you watch a showcase event like this and you see that an update's applied, you really want to try it straight away to find out what the difference is. Then you have to be downloaded and you have to be waiting. It's one of those things. Anyway, the game that talked about a bit, or I should say more than a bit, is also Elder Scrolls Online. And I've not played that game as much as I intended. And they're celebrating 10 years of the game. So in the course of this, particularly in the course of the months between April and August, there are lots of rewards given to the participants, old and new, and in view of that anniversary. And at the moment, that is until the 19th of this month, so that's still about 8 days left. I think they started on, what was it? It was altogether 16 days. So today is the 11th. 8, from about 3rd or 4th of this month to about 19th, they offer the entire content free of charge. That includes all DLCs and everything else. There are some things which you cannot get for free. I read today about this. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it's not the main expansions. The expansions are all accessible free of charge. So if you're interested, and if you are a huge fan of Elder Scrolls series, which is not there online, I mean, if you're a huge fan of Morrowind, Skyrim, and Oblivion, I actually advise you to go in and have a look. It's all free, and therefore you can really experience it for yourself, see whether you like it. Together with Destiny, I experienced the EOS online as one of those games that are really highly sociable. So anytime I walked in, I did have many participants who were just joining me and having a chat, and they just wanted to join my party and do activities together with me. And that's really terrific. So if you are a streamer, if you're considering what game to choose, I think I would certainly advise you to choose either Destiny or Elder Scrolls Online, as your community will be then growing sizably, rapidly in no time. And people like joining different parties and doing things together, and the activity in Elder Scrolls Online is friendly, amicable, sociable, so everyone can join forces with other guys and then complete tasks, and make sure if you are joining forces with others to have a chat to see whether you want to be doing something which they need, and vice versa, so it becomes like reciprocal. And that again is a game that I'm very excited about in view of the expansions and everything else. And they also talked about Fallout 76 with new content similar to this game, Destiny. Fallout 76 is a live server game with a big open world and significantly different to what we've seen with previous games in the series, and it's constantly evolving. I mean, I keep getting messages, we introduced this, we introduced that, we got something else in a shop, new content, new season, new DLC. So really very, very busy there. And I need to step back in and try it. And I've gone in a few times initially. This was at a time where Fallout 76 still had some technical issues, and it's been reworked for the next gen and lots of new content, plenty of seasonal stuff. So definitely worth a shot, and you want to be fully involved with the game if you come in. The difficulty if you're doing Elder Scrolls Online and then Fallout 76 and Destiny all together, it becomes overwhelming because each one of them will have lots of tasks for you to complete every single week. But you can take a pick, and don't have to be doing every single week, but make sure you explore these wonderful open worlds, because I think the future of maybe not the future of gaming overall, but that subgenre, like open world RPG, is definitely going to be linked to the success rate of such titles, because smaller developers will get access to the tech, which will be cheaper in due course, and they'll try to make similar sorts of activities. But don't forget, everyone's monitoring what appears to be more popular, and we've seen in recent times that the interest for Battle Royale has been dropping to a degree. You always have hardcore Battle Royale PvP players, but the overall interest has been dropping, and it's swinging towards RPG. So many of those games introduced by all these developers during the last 3 to 4 days have been basically within that genre. My friends, I need to take a short break, and then as soon as I come back, we'll carry on, and I'll talk a bit more about those presentations and all I've seen during the Summer Game Festival. So stay with us, I'll be back very, very shortly. Well, my friends, I'm back, but unfortunately I can't be running Destiny 1 either. It seems to me that Destiny 1 is also undergoing maintenance, and well, we'll just carry on talking up to the point where 5 o'clock, I think, they should give us the game back. We'll see. There's quite a lot to talk about, in fact, in view of the Summer Game Festival, so let me just dig up some information that I have on my Twitter, and I'll tell you a bit more about it, so just bear with us. Take me a second. The game I forgot to tell you all about is Perfect Dark, and that's a big remake of the original title, and there is a huge anticipation about it, and it's the first trailer stroke gameplay that we've seen the other day, and it was definitely very, very good, so I'm very excited about Perfect Dark as well. Let's just have a look at the postings and everything else that we've got there from Xbox, Ubisoft, and everyone else. Just bear with us. Well, Ron McCaffrey, he is one of the main people at the IGN for gaming, and he runs a regular Unlocked podcast which is dedicated to Xbox gaming. So I listen to the podcast every week, and it's always very interesting. He has really good guests, and they provide us with a wealth of information. I think IGN Live, Unlocked, and Xbox Weekly Podcast are the ones that I never miss. I just think they give us so much on the world of video gaming, and they do so much better than anyone else. And it's regular. It's with good guests. There's plenty of information provided, and you can really get knowledgeable, and you can be kept abreast with everything that's actually happening at that. So he's written the article, so I'll give you a bit about this. And his view, like mine, was that this was a stellar showcase. It was like absolutely tip-top, and I really agree with some of his views. I think what we've seen on Sunday was nothing short of outstanding, and every year they raise the bar somewhat, and it's a company that has obviously huge muscle, but think Sony is a huge company, but their presentations are abysmal compared to what Xbox has, and I don't understand as to why that is. Whether they think that people need to learn about the games through the titles and purchasing, I don't know. It just seems to be completely outdated and lagging very, very far behind. And you've seen the feedback for the latest Sony presentation was terrible. It's like literally everything was received so negatively. Right, so going back to Rand McCaffrey, he said that the presentation has been giving us a very good idea on what's happening at the Xbox Game Studios, and then the titles that we are going to be getting. And they said that, he said that Microsoft exceeded expectations and drew almost universal acclaim. I think it's not possible to see it as negative compared to the if you compare that to the titles and everything else that was given. 30 titles, one better than another. So it's really the best possible. But don't forget, they also have that monopoly, as they acquired so many studios to operate under the umbrella. They have that monopoly with those studios operating exclusively for them, as well as a huge marketing budget. But at the same time, it is you can waste it. You can do something completely wrong. It just definitely worked. I'm reminded of some Hollywood studios in the 70s and the 80s that had huge budgets and basically invested in completely flawed projects. And then those projects caused major problems for them. Some also resulted in bankruptcies, like United Artists, for instance. And, there's always that possibility. But I think it's interesting to see everyone feeling so hyped up and elated 2 weeks after everyone hated Microsoft and Xbox in view of that studio closures that would take place. So it's just definitely very, very interesting. And I think what he says here is 84% of 10,000 voters in his X poll graded it as A on the academic scale, and 95% gave it an A, and then a few people gave it also B. And so that would be very, very greatly appreciated by everyone. And he's also talking about the layoffs, and it's interesting that the layoffs did not affect the overall perspective. Well, that's the way the news are today. People keep forgetting. The big news of today are completely forgotten tomorrow, and I think that's really terrible, because certain issues are persisting, and we got to be able to tackle the same, Otherwise, there will be many more problems arising. As you can see, in a wider scheme of things, the world is facing huge challenges, and I'm not 100% sure that the leaders are tackling them head on. So, and what you've seen in recent years is that our world had become so greatly united and interdependent. So when something happens in another part of the world, it's affecting global economy. It's affecting everything else that we're receiving elsewhere. And anyway, that's a story for another day. But he's just raising this issue that we talked about with our studio closures, and he's asking a few questions about this, and he says that despite the huge success of the showcase, we can't just forget about those people who were losing their jobs in the studios that actually disappeared. And he said that he himself has been given like a green light for his overall excitement about the new titles, and that he said it's top to bottom brilliant showcase, gain confidence and excitement for Xbox for many months to come. And then for the first time since the 360 era, Call of Duty was debuting on an Xbox stage, and he says that it looks like Black Ops 6 will be probably the best release of the franchise so far, and considering what we've seen, how it's been presented, the marketing budget attached to it, the overall access to the game through day one release on Game Pass, I think it will probably break all records. You know how incredibly popular Call of Duty series are, and making it easily accessible to everyone and creating such good presentations, as well as adding so much new content and bettering the game, particularly on the movement front for the protagonists, for the operators, is going to be hugely embraced. I'm just in no doubt about this. And then they said that this is probably going to be by far the best, compared to, for instance, the excellent Modern Warfare reboot in 2019, which is very good. I played on PlayStation, and definitely one of the very best releases they offered so far. And the other big game that everyone's excited about. I mean, I'm not really a big Doom player. I've not played the game initially, so I'm not picking up the hype. But apparently, Phil Spencer was very excited about the Dark Ages. And this is a bold, more melee combat-intensive prequel in ID Software's brilliantly revived and historically iconic first-person shooter franchise. So that is what McCaffrey says. And then, speaking of prequels, Sarah Bond introduced one more thing before the end, and that was Gears. And so it's interesting that he picked up on this, and I actually didn't mention it. The new Gears are not going to be picking up Kate's story in Gear 6, but we're going back to Emergence Day and the formation of Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago's Delta Squad in a Gears of War prequel. So this is going to be Gear 6, but actually it's a prequel to the whole series, which opens up the possibility for other installments that are following up on the same trail. So that will be very interesting. And they said that everyone appreciated that word war was being brought back to the title, so Gears of War, right? Because the last one was called Gears 5, and everyone wanted war in there, because obviously it is a game that is very hectic and based on warlike activity through and through. And he says that the big titles like Black Ops 6 and Gears of War E-Day could not be overshadowing all the other titles that everyone is still very, very excited about. And he said that you can pencil in Doom: The Dark Ages, and then Fable for next year. And then South of Midnight is also being added to that list. I'm very excited about South of Midnight. I thought the gameplay was very, very good. And then they said that we got a proper gameplay trailer for Compulsion's first game since joining the Xbox family. And it's announced with a cinematic piece, but actually this was quite lengthy. It wasn't just a trailer. So he actually is off mark in there. There's quite a bit of gameplay in there. And then he says that the biggest surprise, something that stole the show for him during the presentation, was the reboot of Perfect Dark. And it had a kind of trouble development, and they had delays and lots of problems over the years, but what we've seen had been definitely very impressive, and I think it will work very well. Anyone who played the old games will tell you this is just a game that everyone's been hotly anticipating for so long. And it's the Initiative and Crystal Dynamics doing it together, and the trailer was literally packed out with activity. And he says that it kind of combined Mirror's Edge, Deus Ex, and the original Perfect Dark in one, and I think I would agree with this. And so just he keeps talking about all the other games. He was also excited about final Solid Snake, the new installment in the series of Metal Gear Solid. And just it's even hard to really pick up just one title that you'd be most excited about, because there are so many amongst the 30. You will be wanting to play them for very many different reasons. And just looking at it, well, I should really tell you a bit more about Indiana Jones and Great Circle. That actually surprised me. I think Perfect Dark and Indiana Jones were the greatest surprises for me. All the other ones we knew what to expect. And then there is also the new game coming out of Don't Nod that will have Max Caulfield, from Life is Strange, doing it all over again with different characters. And there's also a game that I quite liked, Mixtape, going back to the 80s, listening to the music and being part of that group of skaters who are exploring their local environment and doing mischievous things. Seemed like really interesting. The one I was slightly disappointed by, I did say that I think yesterday, was Dragon Age The Veilguard. I just thought the presentation of the title was so different to what we've seen from the series. So it makes me worried that perhaps they're taking a different direction, or maybe it will have a major multiplayer input or something of that sort, which will definitely tarnish the experience of the old. And the way they presented the game was very similar to what you have for Apex and Overwatch, where you have characters jumping and giving their name and like a big picture of them. And that didn't really gel with me, honestly. That was probably the biggest disappointment. I have huge expectations, about the game and BioWare and Mass Effect and Dragon Age, but that didn't grab me, if I'm to be honest. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but it just didn't. And we've seen also the trailer for Stalker that perfectly blended in with the previous experience of the game if you played it on PC. And also you have now the trilogy released on a bundle which is adapted for the use of consoles. So definitely buy it straight away before Stalker comes out. They're absolutely terrific games, and the trailer they offered was definitely very, very good. The graphics look somewhat different to what I've seen on previous presentations. I thought they were slightly downgraded. They looked more aligned with the old Stalker games. I'm not sure what the reason for that was. If I recall correctly, the previous presentations were more cinematic and more next-gen. But obviously, Ukrainian developer would have had many difficulties with the game, the title, in view of the current situation in their own country, with that dreadful war taking place. And I'm not even sure where they've done it, in what country, and where they operate from. But the result is very impressive. Again, it's a huge risk to take. The PC series has been one of the most popular PC games of the last 20 years, and you definitely want the new title to be aligned with the quality and everything else that we previously experienced. So, you know, just let me see if I forgot. Yeah, I did actually forget to say. I did not tell you anything about the Crew Motorfest and Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. I've not played that game actually. Anyone played Avatar? I wonder. Loved the film, and the game was, I guess, very similar to what we've seen in IMAX when watching those two Cameron's titles. And I just wonder how immersive this world is and what the activity is like. Because I think Avatar is giving this opportunity for a massive, major open world to be unlocked and for you to be exploring every corner, every dell, every cave, you know, everything, every lake. Fly those creatures, go around, battle it out, you know, similar to Star Wars. The limit's sky high, you can just do anything you want. But it's down to the developer, it's down to people who are building the structure and the game to decide on what the best direction the title really is. Not played it, so I can't say anything. I'm not sure if it's accessible to Ubisoft Plus. I've gone there and tried it. I find it to be too expensive for what it offers. It's only a small number of heavyweight titles from Ubisoft. To be fair, these titles are massive. You can play them for months. But $16.99 in Britain for 1 month is just taking it too far. Considering I think it's $11.99 or $12.99 for the ultimate subscription of the Game Pass, and you have 500 titles available in there, and you know, it just seems far too expensive. But as you've seen, other companies are trying to doing the same sort of thing, which is to resort to running their own streaming service, as they believe they will have many more customers. I don't think that's really well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if you are offering Star Wars Outlaws only on that platform to be accessible at subscription, somebody will take it for 1 month and play the game every single day, as otherwise they would have to pay £70-80 just for that title to have access to other games. And to be fair, those offered on Ubisoft Plus are massive games, so each one of them will be played for many months. So you know, it's value for money. But if you are a subscriber to the Ultimate, to the PlayStation Plus, if you're subscribing yourself to you know, Netflix and Prime and other streaming platforms for films, then no, the budget just grows and you just don't have any more revenue for that. And everyone will need to be considering what their priorities are. And don't forget, lots of Ubisoft games are on EA Plus, which has been fully integrated within the structure of the Ultimate subscription Game Pass. So, you know, you'll get lots of these titles there as well. And so I just want to remind everyone, I also have my Twitter, my Reddit, my Facebook, my Instagram, my Discord, and each one of them is dedicated to a different kind of presentation. You'll have different type of content. I don't, you know, some people leave it automated, so you go from one to the other, it's exactly the same stuff. I don't have that. Each one of them will have something different. And like on Instagram, for several years, I was just posting concept art from many different games, and that was very well received. And then on Twitter, it's the news, and that's literally any kind of news, from what's happening in the industry through the news coming from our community, as well as my own gameplay with screenshots and clips. So everything delivered within that format, and it's a wealth of information with lots of postings every single day. I think if you join my Twitter, you'll be kept abreast of whatever is happening out there. You'll have a very good picture, and it's curated news. You know, I go through many different articles and I basically repost or indeed introduce those which I think are of interest and perhaps more significant. So that Assassin's Creed Shadows is taking place in the old Japan, and they said that you'll be watching the activity through the eyes of a shinobi and a samurai. I guess a shinobi is this assassin, and she's a female character in there, and the samurai, he is a historic figure. Apparently, indeed, he existed. He was a character who came to Japan from the Caribbean, and he's of Afro-Caribbean race. So it's interesting to see somebody like that within the samurai costume. And like I said, he's a historic figure, and I'm sure there will be some questions raised whether there is that degree of accuracy the way he's presented. Nevertheless, to me, looks like a very, very interesting, very enjoyable game with a different approach to what we've seen in Assassin's Creed. They were experimenting with this in Syndicate, but now they've got it sort of full blown in this one, and I think it's quite good. If you don't want to play samurai, you can just go for stealthy assassin literally for the whole game, and you'll have one experience. So if you want to be coming in guns blazing, so to speak, you go for the samurai, and you can be doing that every single time before you embark on a mission, a quest, or any sort of activity. Easily can be changed. I know some people will say, well, we kind of preferred one steady difficulty level, but you can obviously find faults in everything, and experimenting with a new concept, I think, is definitely very good. Everything what I've seen so far is blending in with the series perfectly well, and they said it was their dream project because they wanted to bring Assassin's Creed to Japan for quite some time, but there were issues, both legal as well as technical, and therefore that was not possible at an earlier stage. But if you go back now a few years, think about Egypt, think about Greece, think about Old England, think about Iraq. So all these countries are represented in those games, and each one of them is highly educational. It gives you many details on those countries' histories, and you become knowledgeable. It's not just playing the game. You learn a lot about history, and I think this is a tremendous asset. In due course, maybe they will run a separate hub within each game that will be purely educational, as they did create for the one that is based in Greece. And people can learn in school through the use of the video game. I mean, what better way to learn history but by entering a game? Like when I was in school, it was many years ago, I liked adventure novels. So if I wanted to know something about France, I would read Alexandre Dumas, and his kind of novels, Three Musketeers and all the other ones. And he had a very good picture of what that world was like. You were learning about that world and history through that novel. So it's the same sort of thing, and it's definitely something that I personally fully endorse. So when is this maintenance going to be finished? I wonder. The reason I've been telling you about my Twitter is that all the news from the Summer Game Festival, all the clips, all the trailers, all the presentations, all the interviews, everything is there on my Twitter. So if you missed it, head to my Twitter and access all the information. And it's all directly taken from Ubisoft and Microsoft and Summer Game Festival, exactly the same information. And it is definitely very enjoyable to browse and to watch. I've not played the Crew Motorfest. I remember that they said recently that one of those games will be completely discontinued. They'll switch off the live service, but that must be one of the earlier games that they released, because this one is obviously going strong, and that is the Crew Motorfest, and they're introducing the Chase Squad this November. I'm not a fan of sports games and driving games. It's not really my kind of thing. I like sci-fi, RPG, that sort of thing. Puzzlers, adventures, storytelling. So the Skybreaker is the first big story pack that's coming to Avatar Frontiers, and that will come out on July the 16th. Looked very good, I have to say. Looked very similar to what we've seen in the film. They also introduced this, it's not really a game, it's a simulator, I think, called Rocksmith Plus, and you can learn how to play a guitar or keyboard or other instruments through a very enjoyable online and console PC-based activities. So that seemed very, very good. And I think anyone who is a huge music fan or somebody wants to learn how to play instruments, well, that's going to be your best bet. And just get it, and you can even try it free of charge. They give you a few songs to try, and then you can purchase it afterwards. So that's really very, very clever marketing strategy, and I think it will be very, very popular. They said you can try it for free on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, so it's actually aligned to PlayStation. We don't have any access on PC or Xbox to Rocksmith Plus. Told you all about Prince of Persia, and I didn't really enjoy the presentations last year, which were linked to Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. I thought it was a huge risk to take, but I think the game's been doing reasonably well. The old veterans of the game thought it was a very good way forward, bringing back the concept to the original, which was very much of a platformer. And they're releasing new content, so if you're interested, definitely step in. And then Season 2 is coming out in Skull and Bones. And like I was telling you, it's a game that didn't perform too well on release. And it is beginning to pick up. And there's a lot of new content coming in. And I don't know why it didn't perform too well. It looks very appealing, you know. Fantastic ships and high seas and all kinds of creatures and battles and multiplayer, single player, travel. The elements of Assassin's Creed very much present. I mean, I remember when I entered the game, I thought, that's just like Valhalla. It's a massive big open world, like loads of different places to explore. Beautifully designed, like visually it's mouth-watering. And yesterday he was describing how they created a texture of water and waves and ocean and ships, and it was very interesting. So very ultra realistic, and I think it's probably even more enhanced than in Valhalla, because I was watching the details yesterday and I just thought, okay, didn't really pay attention to that earlier, but it's just so ultra realistic. All right, that's probably all I wanted to tell you about the presentation. And let me just see what we still have as a leftover from the one on Sunday. World of Warcraft is the War Within is the expansion that we've seen on Sunday, and I think everyone who is interested and anyone who played, they call it WoW. Now, I don't like using the term because World of Warcraft is quite specific and it defines really what the game's about. And coming from Blizzard, of course, the beta is playable right now, so you can enter the beta and you can try it. And then the early access is on 22nd of August, and on the 26th the game is released. So anyone who pre-ordered will get early access, and then the season will start on September the 10th, which is basically 2 weeks later. One of the most popular games, and certainly one of the biggest releases of all times, considering its fan base and dedicated veterans. So I think if you've been with Diablo, you probably were also with World of Warcraft, and that is going to be definitely the very best of news for you. And then just having a look at some items that like merchandise that they're offering for Doom and for Gears of War. Quite a lot of different items. I've got to say that the one for Gears of War is terrific. It really looks incredible. It's like several skulls there, dagger and some wings on someone's back, saying Gears of War E-Day. You can get it from Xbox Gear Shop. I bet it's very expensive. And then Atomfall is coming our way in 2025, and that is available day one on console and PC. Imperial China in Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Well, I really like that trailer, I've got to say. That was similar to Wulong that we played last year, and that is coming our way in 2025. Then we have Life is Strange Double Exposure. So it's interesting that that's coming out, and also it's called Lost Records. So it's like two different games coming out of Don't Nod, and very similar atmosphere, very similar aura about the titles. There is a kind of a murder or disappearance stroke mystery, and this will be out on October the 29th, both console and PC. I don't think it will be released on the Game Pass Day 1, but the trailer looked very interesting. It was progressing from the usual Life is Strange framework into something that's bordering on supernatural. So the friend who dies apparently keeps reappearing, and Max can be entering a separate existence, so similar to what we've seen in Bloober's Medium. So that will be quite interesting to explore. And visually it's very similar to Life is Strange, so recognize it immediately, and that's definitely going to be very much of interest to you if you are a fan of series. I've played all of them, and I think it's just an outstanding title, and it tackles so many different issues, from kind of coming of age, growing up type of experience of a young person, through the atmosphere of the 90s, with the iconography and the elements that belong to that era. And then you have, I guess, mischief and truancy, and also have the games are tackling the issue of mental illness, and in a way which I thought was very liberal and very engaging at the time. But we had Hellblade recently, which tackles another type of illness, right? So it's not quite the same. In Life is Strange, we are watching youngsters who are overwrought by their emotional problems, but they're not psychotic. And in Hellblade, we have a person suffering from a major psychiatric disorder. So these are the titles that I could certainly recommend to everyone who is interested in exploring mental health in video gaming. They're the very best, and definitely very enjoyable games, and the games that actually have a message attached to what you're doing. So I'm very excited about Life is Strange Double Exposure. Can't wait to play it in October. So all that intel on Perfect Dark, a very, very good trailer. And just having a look quickly at the list. Well, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was almost like going back in time and migrating to 1981 and entering Raiders of Lost Ark. It was that sort of experience. And also Harrison Ford looked very youthful in the game, and what we've seen was a combination of cinematics with gameplay, and it was very exciting, I have to say. Again, Raiders of Lost Ark, for an open world game, provide huge amounts of potential. So it's down to the developer to really make sure that it is aligned with, I guess, the original Spielberg's idea, as well as the serials of 1930s and 40s, in addition to being original within its own framework. And loads of excitement on Twitter and Reddit about the game. Everyone's waiting for this, and like I said many times, we are really progressing towards the merger of those two industries, and we see that every single day coming our way more and more. So, I mean, what better way to experience that but by considering the games like Mad Max and Indiana Jones and the Expert Circle. We had, obviously, Marvel superheroes and Batman, but that's something else. These are the films that were made after the characters were imported from graphic novels. But this is different, like Indiana Jones is something that's been imported from films alone, and that itself does have a particularly different dimension compared to everything else. So I think that's probably all that is giving a description of what I've seen. I didn't talk much about Sea of Thieves, a game that I played on release, and it did have quite a few technical issues as well, but completely reworked ever since, and I've not gone in, so I really can't really comment much. And a very popular, I think it's one of the most popular Xbox multiplayers, you have lots of people who attach themselves to the game and played it from the beginning. It's very funny, very lovable, roguish pirates and characters. And once you get together with them, you have a lot of fun with your friends. It's really kind of game that will make you feel good and very much based on an activity that is geared towards social networking. So you will meet new friends, establish friendships, and then have a drink and get together every single day, play another game, and carry on with the activities. Lots of seasonal content, and I guess I need to explore it more. It's just too many games, so that if you attach to one of them, it's very difficult to migrate to something else. And particularly if you're a streamer, it's much easier if you're not a streamer. You can just do what you like, but when you're streaming, you got to be retaining your focus on one, or I'd say approximately 3 titles that are persisting on your stream. Or maybe one genre. We have people who are streaming like horror games or sci-fi games, but the way these communities are built is usually a bit like social network. People come there because they want to see what you're doing with that title, and the title generally will be one of those heavyweights. All right, so what else do we have? Yeah, there is a big event that will be launched as part of Season 13 for Sea of Thieves, and that's coming out on July the 25th. And then in Fallout 76, there is a brand new DLC called Skyline Valley on June the 12th, so that's really tomorrow. And that's coming to console and PC. I need to really step in and have a look. Yeah. Fallout had a major boost with the series, the TV series that's been available through Amazon Prime, and the sales of the older titles like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 just skyrocketed. And it's interesting that they offered each one of the titles free of charge on different platforms. So I've got like the full series now for free. Well, actually I purchased the titles on Xbox and PlayStation, but they were offering them for free for the new gamers, for people to step in and try. And Fallout 76 was also offered free of charge, like a gift to us, the subscribers, on Xbox Game Pass platform, and obviously I picked it up. Otherwise it's still there. It's part of the Xbox group of gaming studios, so like the originals and the studio titles are continuously there. They're not being taken down, but you never know. And I guess it did have a very successful presence on the Game Pass right from the beginning. So coming back to this, it is a new Appalachian map expansion, and then it is called Skyline Valley, coming out tomorrow, and that will be accessible through consoles and PCs. And then we've seen quite a bit on the zombies in Black Ops 6, and I played the zombies in Cold War. I didn't enjoy it at all, I have to say. I don't really... It's a merger of these types of subgenres into one, to attract new customers and maybe to bring in new participants. But I just don't really think that Call of Duty is a zombie-infested game. It's something that does have political or global kind of world event auspices, and what you do there is aligned with that. Like, for instance, the new Black Ops 6 is going to be giving you Gulf War. And Gulf War is the main area of operation. I'm particularly excited about the section where Special Forces are going to be chasing those Scuds, and that's based on real-life events. So curious to see how this will work, whether you'll do it as a multiplayer or something similar to what you have in Warzone or what. So something I really look forward to, and it should be. You should have 2 teams, one operating as the assault force, trying to neutralize the Scuds, and the other working on the Scuds, wanting to create mayhem. So you can choose what squad you want to be part of. And they talked about this omni movement, right? So that's so-called intelligent movement, and it makes it to be more fluid when you're running, jumping, tossing and turning, crouching when you're prone, and what they presented, was very, very remarkable. It was very impressive. Just looked very smooth. Everything to do with the operators, smoother than before. But don't forget, if you want to have the very best experience, you will have to be investing in the most expensive equipment. That's the other catch-22 in all of that. You'll think, I have my PlayStation 4 and I'll do now Black Ops 6, and you'll find out that it doesn't seem to work properly, or it gets very choppy on older gen PCs. Well, that's the problem for everyone. All the new tech requires basically new platforms as well, and everything's changing so rapidly. Thanks goodness that we can be extending our contracts on mobile phones, otherwise we'd be all bankrupted, considering how expensive the top shelf phones really are. So I've been able to have my Xperia ready for the last almost 10 years without actually paying a penny for a new handset, when I see that they cost like 15, 12, 13, 1400 pounds a piece. It's eye-watering, honestly. And I keep coming back to this. I can't understand the resistance that people have when debating Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and wanting those services to be discontinued. I don't understand it. It's a bit like saying, tell the developers not to offer alphas and betas and just let them sell everything from the onset. Nonsense. There's no thinking behind it. Alphas and betas are there for gaming communities to try gaming, to try a product and then advise, because every single time when you do alpha and beta, you'll get feedback forms. You can tell the developer what you liked, what worked, what didn't, what you disliked, and they will be working on the game in order to improve. So, sometimes they'll even rework the whole game. As you've seen with Ubisoft, they actually discontinued certain games because after alphas, they didn't seem to be picking up with an audience. People the gamers, the people who try them simply said, well, that definitely is not going to be working well for me for the reasons explained and the reasons have been listed. So, I think anyone who is trying out alphas and betas needs to provide the developer or the publisher with adequate feedback. It's essential. That helps the games to be enhanced, improved, and made better. And then the other thing is, if you are playing indie titles on those platforms, well, make sure that these indie platforms, that the indie games and their developers are being told about your experience. So not just entering, downloading, playing for 10 minutes, but actually play them a bit longer and provide the developer with some feedback. They will greatly appreciate it, because they always expect feedback to be directed at heavyweights. So, and as you've seen in the course of Jeff's presentation the other day, there are games offered and presented that are being made just by one single person, and some of these games look incredible. I remember last year there was one game that looked so spectacular. It looked a bit like Wulong, or these sort of Japanese games, Final Fantasy or Monster Hunter. One person working on one person. Well, not particularly tech savvy on that level to be able to tell you how this is possible, but evidently it is possible, and those people are succeeding. And if you realize that there's one person working a game and the game comes across as so big and so polished, well, absolutely make sure you present them with some feedback. Okay. Still 30 minutes to go before we get that reset. If anybody else is able to access Destiny earlier, then please ping me a message and tell me that Destiny is fully operational, because I'm waiting. Just noticed that Tiltify goal is not properly registered on my screensavers. I don't know why. Need to investigate that. That doesn't look good. The new Metal Gear Solid's called Snake Eater, and I'm not sure what the date is. They've not given us the exact date for its release. And then told you all about this, so I don't need to go through that again. Right, so the question is, what are you going to be playing, really, when it comes to all these titles? What are the games that you're excited about? And what games will be coming your way first? Well, I think for me, The Division is already on my console, and that's The Division 2, because the new season that reworked the whole game is kicking off today, so I want to try that. That's number one. Then I'll have Star Wars Outlaws. Then I'll have Gear 6. Then South of Midnight. Then Black Ops 6. Then Avowed. Then Perfect Dark. Well, list just goes on. It's a bit ridiculous. It's just that those titles are so appealing, and we'll have to try them one by one and experience the open worlds and the activities that they'll offer. I had some difficulties with OBS and Twitch, and that's been interfering with my daily bulletin of news. So I have to re-record some of those which were not properly recorded after being aired. And I think I'll have to do that within the next few days. So if I do not deliver Destiny streams, that is going to be the reason. I want to get regular news bulletins on my channel, and I've not been able to do this because obviously doing something that is unique, in terms of the content, and then not recorded is just simply not acceptable. And what I will do every single time is I'll record it on my PC as well, just as a backup, just in case. And I need to be using this option. I wasn't doing this before because everything worked perfectly, and these files are quite big. They occupy a lot of space on my hard drive, so I have to resort to another option. So that's the reason as to why you've not had any news within the last week, and I'll have to I guess re-record and then make it as a 3-day news. So we'll have 2 of those, and then we'll have another one dedicated to the Summer Game Festival. Bear with me, I just need a hot drink. There's something again irritating my throat. Right, so we're still waiting for this. I'm not sure when the game is going to be finally accessible, because I definitely want to be getting that Pathfinder, but I just think if they've done a full reset, and if they did reset the Pathfinder, then I'll be back to square one, which is ridiculous. We didn't have more than, 3 days on Pathfinder? These are very lengthy grinds. Curious to see what our community members are feeling about the changes. I think on Reddit I did spot several people who were very, very happy, and I guess the big question is on the rewards. Prismatic has been generally well accepted, but Pathfinder is one of the latest things that we received, and when you see what the rewards are going to be for this, and if the rewards are not massive, then most people will not be doing these lengthy grinds. And in any case, they're fairly automated. You can be completing some of them or missing out on the others if you're not paying attention. I'm surprised really with that sidearm task. It was taking me forever. And also yesterday, when I was using grenades and precision shots, and what was it? There was another one. It didn't seem to register every single hit. So I was just grinding, and I could see that it didn't seem to be going forward anywhere. So there was some sort of issue, technical issue in there, and eventually I completed it. But it's just funny. It's funny because really, at one point it seemed to be progressing rapidly forward, and then it just stopped. And this thing with sidearm is just like never ending. I'm using my sidearm all the time, and it didn't register. So I don't know really what the problem there was. But I like the ideas. I like the Pathfinder. I like Prismatic. I like the new structure. I'm now curious to see what we'll get tonight with Echoes, the first episode, or the first act of the first episode, and what types of content we'll be getting, how this is going to be delivered, and also what rewards we'll be getting through the activity. I think the presentation yesterday on the future of Destiny, or I should say the presentation yesterday on the seasonal content and the episodes was quite good, and I'm sort of left wondering what will happen at the end of that period, whether we'll carry on with various activities on different planets, or whether there is going to be a new main story similar to the battle between the light and the darkness, which could stretch over a period of 10 years. Hard to tell, really. Hard to tell. I think it's likely that we'll have more snappy narrative that is going to be coming to us on either monthly or quarterly basis. And I quite like the idea when they began giving us the story missions within the seasons, and I really like the new direction that Destiny was taking through the last few years. I didn't find the seasons to be empty or devoid of activity, or what I did find was that the rewards for certain grinds and activities were not sufficient, and picking up 100 Elsys rifles, for instance, didn't make me feel very happy, or any other weapons, like top weapons there, and the new system of every weapon being craftable will make it more interesting, and every weapon can be enhanced, or the majority of the weapons. So whatever I picked up yesterday had these extra slots for mods and for leveling up and for everything, and I guess you'd be able to find yourself a perfect loadout and really a perfect set of armor. So it's just down to you whether you want to play always the same lot, or whether you'll pick up different pieces and try them. I think they probably should introduce an activity that is giving you rewards for trying out different weapons, similar to what you had in Destiny 1. You remember there were certain weapons that you picked up from Banshee, and if you kept trying them, you would be getting rewarded. So that is maybe the next step, or the next stage of that many weapons being accessible to mods and to crafting. Because otherwise, what's the point of collecting all of them? If you are with a game for a long while, you will have your favorite loadout and your favorite armor set, and that will be it. And I think the armor as it stands today is a lot better with mods, so you can be focusing on the armor appearance, unless it's exotic, and then can be just modding it accordingly, the way you want it to work for you. Mods are very important. You really can massively change your ability to play the game. You can be faster, you can be more resilient, you can be more resistant, you can be having a quick charge on your grenades and your super in particular. So these things are very important in certain activities, and just make sure you're always exploring the armor and the mods so you slot in everything accordingly and appropriately. They also talked about 2 bits of armor being used at the same time. I'm not tried it yet, but is that already active? Because that would be quite good. You can have, let's say, your chest piece and your helmet, or chest piece and your legs, and your boots, and that would be massively enhancing the abilities, because the exotics, they have this sort of special ability, and that is something that will be, for me, the major task here in Destiny during the forthcoming period. I will want to be considering what items are going to be enhancing my abilities, like for instance chest pieces or helmets. You know, the one that makes you invisible, the other one that gives you quick recharge on a super, the third one gives you some other double charge on a grenade, or it's increasing the range of the grenade. You know, it's like fine-tuning on what you want your character to be for certain activities, and you may need to keep some notes. Now you can fit in different loadouts accordingly, but you may want to keep some notes on special abilities, because there are so many, and especially if you want to work together with a team, it will give you extra muscle for you to be a more integrated team member who is ready and able both to attack and to aid those who are in need. We've seen yesterday, I have to say, I played with a few guys who slotted in randomly, and the teamwork was second to none. You know, as soon as somebody got down, they were there in order to revive, provided cover fire. Also, when attacking the boss from 3 separate positions, so the boss was confused. It's very, very good, and you can see really very experienced Destiny players and veterans fully involved and providing what is necessary. And also, I think in Destiny, a bit like in Elder Scrolls, you come across a community that's generally very supportive, and therefore I want to make clear to everyone always that in here we don't endorse competitive players, because people who are hammering the Crucible frequently are those who are striving towards better scores, better results, more kills, and you know, it's just killing it for me in here, because what I'm doing is trying to bring in as many people as possible to support each other, not in order to make others feel, you know, to be not worth it or having worse abilities or something. And the Crucible is going to be more present in here as it is integrated in that new skills tree called Pathfinder. So we have several skills in there that need to be completed in order to get the reward. But I did say yesterday that when I played the Crucible, I did find that there was some sort of difference there with matchmaking and also with the abilities. I was generally, unless with a team of very experienced veterans, getting very high scores, and that's a significant difference compared to the way things were until recently. So I don't know what they've done to it, but there is a change, and I think, although they said before so that everyone's on the same level, that wasn't really my experience. I felt that there was something to it, and yesterday, in quite a few of those matches we played, I felt we were on the same level. And some people who had much faster internet than me did come across as more potent. So you see a couple of times with some weapons, like a one shot, I'm dead straight away, but actually it wasn't one shot he fired off, maybe 3 or 4 shots, but you didn't even see them on my screen because they were so fast that they didn't register. And that's the benefit of being on ultra fast internet. I just seen they talked about introducing ultra fast fiber in my local area, but it's not really as fast as it is in some other countries. I played here live on air with people who were, 1,000 across 1,000, so 1,000 upload, 1,000 download, and most of these people were from either Scandinavia or the Baltics, and they're unkillable. There's nothing you can do. I mean, you have to be really very, very inexperienced gamers to do things which are static and silly, and in order for you to eliminate. But actually, if they had some experience, they were much superior, and that is always a big issue for anyone who's entering any PvP arena. Anyway, so it's getting better as we go on, but I think in the earlier days would have been a major problem, a link to ping, to accessing servers. And I thought yesterday the access to the servers also was variable in a Crucible. I thought in some matches seemed fine for everyone, but then in some others it just seemed that you could see that on the scoring. For instance, one team was getting to 150 whilst the other was just already like nearly barely reaching 20 or 30, and that indicates something is seriously wrong. You know what I mean? It's not that the other team was so bad, or that they had no skills or whatever. It just indicates there was something technically wrong with that section of the game. Well, we're not getting anywhere yet, so let me see. Am I getting any news on Bungie Help? Bear with us. We'll see whether we're getting anything there or not. Let me just double check. Some indication here that the maintenance would be ending at 6 o'clock, but I'm not sure really. It's 10 AM PDT. Double check what time that is. So. It's 6 o'clock, so it's still 1 hour. It's terrible. Just double check something on Twitch. I'm quite curious to see what others are doing at the same time. 25,000 viewers at the moment. I guess people are doing exactly the same thing as me, just waiting for everything to restart. Yeah, still an hour. Looks like Destiny 1 is operational, so we do a bit of Destiny 1, I think, instead, and then we'll get back to this one as it restarts at 6 o'clock to see what's happening with those episodes, and so I think this is what I'll do. All right. Oh, we have Gail here. Hello, how are you doing? Good to see you. How are you? Long time no see. I was actually going to ping you a whisper, a private message to ask you how your recovery is progressing. Have you returned back home, and how is your leg, and how is everything, in fact? Maybe if you tell us a bit. Just want to say to our friends that our friend Gail was seriously injured at work and had to be in hospital due to a serious injury to a leg. And Gail saying that I'm all right, got out of the hospital. What, today or last week? Because I've not seen you here on the streams, and I've been streaming Destiny almost every single day. And I was concerned that perhaps something happened, or maybe yesterday. So you're in hospital for roughly 2 weeks. Or is it 3 weeks? 2 weeks, in 14 days or so. Because the incident happened on Monday morning, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks, yeah. And how is your leg now? You got to be using crutches, right? You got to have something to help you. I'm sure your family was very happy to see you back. Such a shock, my goodness. It's just... Oh, you're in a wheelchair. Yeah. Well, wheelchair is very useful. You're on the ground floor, aren't you? You can just go in and out with ease. So what did the doctors say about the leg, the overall mobility and everything else? What's the expectation for recovery and for rehab? Well, I had a serious leg injury a little while back. It was also work-related, but it was different to yours. Mine wasn't like a firearms injury. It was I had a torn ligament in my right foot, which prevented me from walking for some time, and I also had lengthy physio and therapy and everything else, and I mean, eventually caused me problems with my activity. The work I was doing at the time, and had to really call it a day due to that. And still today, that's been many years ago since I've had it, I still get some discomfort, and I get some difficulties and some problems under certain weather conditions. I can feel that ligaments kind of playing up somewhat. It's in my right foot. but it's obviously a lot better compared to what it was. It's been many years. And I also found that the ligament injury was incredibly painful compared to some other injuries that one can have. So that's been, you know, an experience at that time. So I guess you will have a lengthy period of rest as you've come back home. Well, you will be able to engage with us here, with our community of gamers. You'll be able to play games and connect, so you will never be alone, and that's terrific. You know, that's most important. I said it to everyone who is experiencing some form of health difficulty. Our gaming communities can be very supportive and very present and always there. Well, it's the pros and cons, isn't it? The gaming communities operate 24/7. You can step in and there's always somebody out there who wants to squad up and join in, and that's fantastic. Well, I'm very glad to see you back and also here on the channel. I can tell you I've not seen or heard anything from Zenith for quite a while, and I think he's been very busy of late with something. I've not seen him live on air or indeed in the game for a while, so I hope he's well. Also ping him a message and ask him whether he'll join us sometime, so we can have, you know, the same squad back on. I guess today the Bungie are having a lengthy maintenance due to the launch of the episodes, you know, because the episodes are starting today, so it's the new season, new episodes, new act, and that will require quite a bit of maintenance. I'm a bit baffled, I've got to say. I thought from the previous presentations that the seasons are going to be no more, but I think they probably had cold feet on episodes being sold alone, so they kept the same format, I guess changed to a degree with, I don't know, it's a different content or a different structure to it, but the actual layout for the seasons is exactly the same. There's no difference to it at all. So I'll be quite curious to see how this is to work. Maybe you know, maybe they have some ace up the sleeve, and they'll have some new content or some surprises compared to what we've seen and heard so far. And my feeling was after the Tuesday launch that there are quite a few things that will be unfolding as we go on. So not everything was offered on the same day. I think it's a good strategy, you know. It's always something to look forward to in weeks to follow, and I think that's quite a good idea. It just needs to be communicated better. We need to be given facts. Gail says, I saw Zenith on Destiny 2 a few days ago. I've asked him to join us a few times, but he said he was very busy, and therefore he couldn't really join us. And I did have a few of our veterans come back to Destiny 2 streams, and as Destiny 1 veterans. That was really very great to see. I had My Starries is one of the first members of this channel who popped in and said hello, and then we had who else? About 2 or 3 people from the old days. And Gail says it was later in the day. Well, that's right, because he is, if I'm not mistaken, 5 hours back. So it is now around midday in Minnesota, right? And lots of our friends are from East Coast. So, there will be 8 or 9 hours back, and then that makes it really difficult for them to join. Well, I did have a different schedule in the past, but just generally, in order to accommodate our US friends, I've gone down the route of doing it in the afternoons. Because if the stream is between 2 and 5, 2 and 6, that gives certainly an opportunity to some of the guys who are on the East Coast to come in if they are early risers. We did have one guy in Texas, and he is a former Marine, and he would be literally rising at 4:30 every morning, as he basically had his own farm, and then he would play Destiny between 5 and 7, and then he would be off to do work. And I've not heard from him for some time. He was a chap in his mid-60s, and I'm really worried about COVID and everything else, and I hope that he's well. I've not heard from him either. Lots of people, I have to say, I've not heard since the pandemic. There are quite a large number of participants who just have not come back. But, people kind of move on and start doing other things, migrate to other games. There's various reasons as to somebody is not. But I did have news from 2 who unfortunately were suffering from serious health problems and had surgeries and had successful recoveries. But one member in particular I've not heard from for quite some time after he conveyed the information that he had been undergoing surgery. So, it pains me to see that. And I lost lots of friends in recent times. Just most recently, one of the closest friends from the BFI passed away. He was aged 90, and we only got to know about this through his sister, who's also very old and frail, and then she didn't provide us with the details which were necessary for us to go and, say goodbye to him. And he was going to be laid to rest in another city. So we couldn't get any information from anyone. And that was very, very sad, regrettable. He's a very well-known person and linked to many of us. And we were all, shaken by the news. He basically passed away in his sleep. He was sudden, as his health was generally very good, but at the age of 90. And Gail says, yeah, it's the same time in Ohio as well, which is midday. Yeah, we just we've gone from midday to 5 past 5 over here, so it's about 5 or 6 minutes past midday over there in the US. Yeah, just want to say to Gail that I had a very difficult period during the pandemic, and obviously in the months and years after, as many people contracted the virus who I knew, who were of an advanced age, didn't really recover properly, or they suffered all kinds of consequences. And I go to a regular meeting of film veterans and people who are film historians, and we meet at a place called the Cinema Museum, which is in South London. And sadly, every single time I went there during that period, I would learn of somebody else's passing. I'll be going there tomorrow. We have the last evening before the summer break, and there'll be a screening of a rare silent film and then some shorts and everything beforehand. But there were so many people from our group who sadly departed, and quite a few of them departed because of COVID. They contracted the virus and it did cause them serious problems. Whether they were vaccinated or not, I'm not sure, but I know that the virus was the contributing factor, and that's been very distressing, because I was running during the pandemic, during the first 2 years, a kind of support group here on my channel. We had a very large group of people coming in to play Destiny and Warzone and Apex, and I'm greatly supported, by the fact that there was this forum that was helping them not to feel alone and isolated. And one of the most remarkable experiences of my kind of gaming career was during that period. But then sadly, it wasn't really towards the end, halfway through 2021, my mother passed away suddenly as well, and then that affected my activities and everything around that period, and I wasn't at that point any more available to provide that degree of support within the following few months, and what can I say? Also lost one of my best friends and my mentor professionally, and a couple of other people from the same group during the same year. And then I also lost one of my former partners. She sadly developed pancreatic cancer, and then had surgery, and everything seemed well. And then after that, everything came back 18 months later. So it was a very difficult period with lots of departures and losses. And as I said, it's been very, very difficult. And then of late, I had my own health issues, and my dad also, who is in his 90s, had not been well. So it all kind of amalgamated during the last few years, unfortunately. And the only thing I can say to everyone is just make sure you look after your health, and make sure you are providing the best possible maintenance. Healthy living, healthy sleeping, high quality, healthy diet, nutrition, being properly hydrated, regular exercise. All of these things are critical. It's most important. But a lot of people take health for granted, and even if they are being blessed by great genetics and highly functioning immune system, due to the way they live, they just keep degrading it, and then after a certain period, everything goes downhill. Because the genomes are a bit like sponge, they keep absorbing whatever is coming in from the environment, internally and externally, and then they react. They can change. They can develop in the way which had not been anticipated previously. So, I'm not a geneticist or anything like that, but I'm very interested in the science, and if I had a shot at a new career, I'd go down this route to study DNA, because I think DNA holds a key to who we are, and it holds the key to many of our kind of health conditions, resistances, abilities, ailments, and we still don't know enough about it. So that really, I really wonder whether humanity should reconsider to invest a lot more money into that research, and then sway from investing in wars, weaponry, and the tragedies of the world, and then we'd probably advance faster. We'd get some more knowledge on how everything is, but it's a human condition. We all have tendency sometimes to do things that we shouldn't be doing, and some of us maybe more than others. So I want to ask Gail, you've gone back to your family, so you are with your relatives and your family members, and that must have been quite an experience yesterday coming back. Did they drive you back, or was there somebody from hospital who yeah. Because sometimes hospitals also provide transport back home. Just wondered. If it's not a local hospital, then it's a long drive. Oh, they drove you back, your family. Oh, that's great. Fantastic. Was there like a welcome party at home with some neighbors and friends as well? Were they all waiting for you? Well, would have been a wonderful experience, I think. Come back a hero, That's then one then really feels loved and appreciated. Yeah, I thought so. Gail says that there were some friends and family at home waiting for her to come back. It can be very emotional. I have been in some of those situations, and I lived away from my family most of my life, so I know what this is like, and it can be very emotional. particularly if one is facing a major difficulty, you know. And at that point, you realize how much you mean to certain people and how much you care about them as well. You know, it's both ways, and it's a humbling experience, and it doesn't happen many times in one's own life. You know, it's just like it's really pertinent. I remember years back when I traveled, I didn't allow my dad or my mum or, you know, the closest to me to go to the railway station or the place where I was departing. I didn't want them to be there because it's too difficult. I just felt it's like yet another heartbreak. And, you know, if you travel long distance, you never know whether you're going to see them again, or particularly if you are doing the work where there is certain risk involved, and never wanted them to have that sort of experience, you know, wanted them to feel at peace without any greater worry, and never fed them too much information about the actual work, which was, I thought, better for them not to know. Yeah. I bet you were just waiting for that moment to be discharged, because being in hospital there, you know, it's can be very good and comforting, but then comes a point where you feel, I want to get out. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be with my friends, family, and with the loved ones. Well, you know, I was very happy to hear that my streams and my podcasts were providing you with that degree of support that you felt. This was the activity that was helping you, you know, with having the chin up and feeling positive and upbeat and doing something that was interesting and rewarding. So I'm very, very glad to hear that, and always humbled when I hear that people feel supported by what I do here live online, because this channel is all about supporting others. It has been from the beginning, and I've been amazed by both the number of participants and then by the overall engagement, the experience, the exchange, you know. That went both ways. When I lost my loved ones, I felt my community members were supporting me tremendously, and you know, also during the periods of absence when I was away and not doing any streams, I would get quite a lot of messages from my online community, people just asking, how are you, what's been going on, are you alright, how's your health, and that's just wonderful. It's really wonderful to realize there are lots of good people out there, and people can be very attentive, can be very caring, and sometimes even in the most unusual circumstances you discover that. And I think it's extremely important for us to remember that that's the way things are, because today, with this quick access to information, and you know, having your Twitters and Instagrams and the news bulletins coming in from around the world 24/7 to your handset, you just forget about that. You simply forget about the fact that there are good people out there, because the news is always about something bad, you know, some problem, something that doesn't seem to work properly, or something that's affecting someone. Crime, war, violence, financial troubles, bankruptcies, you name it. It's just one thing after another, collapsing economy, blah blah. And we want to retain that degree of positivity, and we want to you know, look at people and experience our communities in the light-hearted, most positive fashion. The funny thing is, our human community is exactly the same as it's been for God knows how many thousands of years, you know. On the inside, biologically, we're exactly the same. And generally, the way we react to challenge, to fear, to threats, to comfort is, again, identical. It's no different to the way it's been for centuries. ever since the initiation of man, you could say. But what is different is how we are molded into our environment and how we are responding to certain challenges, So the actual reaction is the same, but the way we are behaving and reacting is based on our raw knowledge and experience that we would be gathering through our lifetime. And that's where the difference is. But we all can get angry or sad or jealous, or some people get envious, some people get furious, some people get under the weather. So these are all reactions that we all had always. And hearing all this news all the time and being bombarded by negativity does have a very detrimental effect. People start losing faith in humanity. People say, so many bad people that don't want to go out. It's too dangerous. It's not quite like that. And I think we need to really keep a very clear mind when it comes to the way people are, the way our communities are. I can switch off from the negativity and the bad news and experience life as it is, with its challenges, with its kindness, with its niceties, with nice strolls, nice walks, nice meals in restaurants, nice chats. And I talked to my dad the other day, and I said to him, people of such age in the early to mid 90s sometimes find huge comfort in singing or reading or just talking to others. Being very old and having other people to talk to is critical, because you keep yourself busy, occupied, animated, energized, with some interest, something to look forward to. And I can really see a big difference when I compare him and my mother, who sadly is no longer with us, and then, for instance, his own parents, who lived alone. They didn't live with children, their own children, and both sons departed from home quite early. And his parents were not having many friends. They had themselves to talk to each other, but not really, didn't socialize, didn't go to any places of interest, and so lived in a small town as well. And there's a huge difference in the way, the level of the activity and communication and everything else was retained at such advanced age. I mean, his mother lived to her 90s, but with his dad, he passed away aged 83. So I think, singing and communication and regular engagement with others and being in a sociable environment is very, very important when people come to that age. Not just in the 90s, and it comes to the 70s. In fact, I saw a man today when I went to my Tesco's. He was probably maybe 71 or 72, and he looked so poorly. He was pushing his walking frame, and it was a terrifying sight, because I thought, well, you can tell straight away this man has no one to look after him. He doesn't have any family, and he just, the overall demeanor, appearance, and all of that contributes to the sense of well-being, to the experience of health, and everything that somebody will be going through at a certain stage of their life. And in London, which is a huge global capital, you come across lots of very lonely people, and that is something that really shocked me when I was a young man, because there are so many different means to which you can engage, from local interests, community halls, churches, exhibitions, cinemas, music places, bingo halls, places for pensioners. But some people resist. They don't have the natural drive to go there. We have a local meeting place every Sunday in a church that has been in this area since the 9th century. So it's been here for 12 centuries. It's the oldest building in the whole county. And it's been built at an elevated position, so anybody who was around the church could see whatever was going on, a bit like a castle. And we meet every Sunday, local parishioners and older people generally, and then we talk about current affairs, about what goes on for us, and whatever's been going on during the week. And we all kind of know each other. In fact, the other day I went to the D-Day commemorations, and then I met some of my friends from there. There was a local priest together with some other parishioners, and we immediately got together, talked, engaged with some other people who we didn't know, who also came to see the ceremony. And very, very important to keep up with that degree of social activity. And the vast majority of people who come there, they are, older people, but they're married, they have families, and they're very sociable. And I always want to say to those people who are reaching a certain age to make sure they keep up with that degree of social contact. I think it's very difficult for those who are nine to fivers, people who work in offices or conventional 9-to-5 jobs. Then once they come to that retirement age, then life changes, and after maybe being there for 40 plus years, the means of support, the means of communication, everything is just gone. And not everybody is kind of able to take it on the chin. And some people experience that as a major defeat or a major disappointment. I know, for instance, my dad, when he was getting retired, he didn't really take it well. He had his structure and work and everything for very many years, and suddenly there was this shock and horror that he's no longer needed. He's departing. No more is he going to be having his position, his work, his job, and everything else. And it had taken quite a while to accept the situation. And then later he worked, in his bachelor years elsewhere, but not within the same professional capacity. So it's very different from person to person. But I just wanted to, describe to our viewers and everyone who is watching and listening, either live or on various VOD platforms, how important it is to remain connected and sociable. And I think today, even if you do not go to your local church or to your community hall or meet up with others, in any circumstances, doesn't have to be the period of pandemic or anything else, which we already sadly experienced in the course of this decade. You can communicate to others online, and it is astonishing when you see people who are in the 70s discovering Elder Scrolls and joining the Elder Scrolls online communities, and then becoming very connected as streamers, as publishers, as content creators, and they literally kind of come to the second youth. I watched several streamers who were in the 70s doing Elder Scrolls Online. It was just a fantastic experience. It's just wonderful. The connectivity, the life experience, and everything else was so refreshing. And most importantly, they were giving an example to everyone else that it doesn't really matter how old you are. You can still join the community and have very entertaining, enjoyable communication with others. And, it's just the way to be. Also, don't forget, this sort of activity does stimulate your cognitive functioning, so you are always on the ball. You are increasing the level of electricity that we carry. Your reasoning, your thinking, your memory is stimulated through the activity. And then also, if you're playing a game, you need to focus on what you're doing, and it does have a very major therapeutic effect. So I just like to invite people from that age group to be joining our community as well. Maybe Destiny will be too fast, but other games are there which can be as appropriate, and really quite a revelation. The vast majority of people imagine video gaming is a sort of activity that most youngsters get involved with. That's not the case. In fact, if you watch our Ubisoft presentation and from yesterday, you will see that the vast majority of people seated in the audience were 40 plus. I didn't see people who were younger than 40 in the audience, at least from the shots that I've seen, and people in the 50s and 60s as well. Many of them are obviously people who work in the industry, but at the same time, it does give you an example, or gives you a picture of what video gaming can be if embraced by all generations. And I still think there are many more therapeutic effects and positives coming out of both video gaming, live and streaming, compared to what we've seen and experienced so far. I think this is a field which will massively ascend as we go on, and we'll have many more people who are involved with the therapeutic application of video gaming in psychological medicine, schools, education, churches, and elsewhere. The capacity to learn, if they, for instance, apply artificial intelligence into the game making, they'll make huge amount of educational games with ease. Single person developers will be able to use AI in order to create phenomenal worlds. I know it will be affecting people's jobs, and it will be affecting also the number of people working in certain companies. But at the end of the day, it will be down to the companies and those running them to decide on what the best way to produce the games is going to be for them. Because the algorithms will not be able to work by themselves. Somebody else will have to go and work on the elements that will be accelerating production. But I just think that the possibilities for educational development will be massively enhanced. I really do. And I kind of really look forward to the future in that respect. But like I said earlier, we have got to be resilient, forward-thinking, upbeat, and we have got to be also positive about what is to follow. We do not want that negativity just to come over us. And like in anything else, it will be down to us to decide how we are to use that technology, whether that's going to be to our benefit or to our detriment. I can see both ways, I can see also how it can work in either of the ways, positively and negatively. So, yeah. Well, I want to say to Gail, I'm very glad to see that you're well and that you're recovering, so that you are back home and that you're with your family and friends. That's absolutely terrific. And I personally wish you the best and the speediest recovery of all. And I want you to be fully recovered, fully mobile, and also on the inside to be positive, forward-thinking, upbeat. And if you need anything, you can always come back to our community, and there are going to be people here available to help. I can also tell you that my charitable fundraiser is ascending. I have had some contacts from other platforms, and I think longer I carry on with the consistent promotion, we are going to be getting some more donations. And I can't stress how important it is for people to donate and support such charities. I was incidentally today in the shop run by Mind charity, and I know people who work there. They're all people who have either a disability, which is the developmental disability, or a variety of different mental health problems. And it's always so great to see that we can openly talk about these issues. There's one person there who I know, and she was telling me today about being relocated and being assessed for diagnosis, and medication was changed. But it was just so great to see that the people are involved in such projects, which then generate revenue for further research that will help so many different people. It's just phenomenal, and I just wish that there would be many more places like that worldwide, not just in Britain, but in any other country. So that this becomes, this is made possible because anyone under the certain circumstances can develop a major psychiatric illness or major neurological disorder. This could be the consequence of virus, surgery, accident, or sometimes of different types of psychological pressures that people are experiencing in day-to-day life. And any one of us will be in the need at some stage in our lives. And thanks goodness we have such charities staffed by volunteers and professionals who are always there to help. I just think we need to invest more in online entities for those charities as well, so people can access such services online better with ease, and therefore without the need to be physically going somewhere. I really wanted to run such services 20 years ago. I went to a presentation done by various industry leaders run by the American Chamber of Commerce many years ago in London, more than 20 years now, actually. And I just, it was like a light bulb moment. I saw that development. I saw that rising in the future. Some things developed quicker than expected, like, for instance, the music that is being streamed live on various platforms, and in consequence also films and games. But music came first. This was already in the early noughties, and basically I really saw that potential, but I wondered how long it was going to take before that potential is fully embraced by medical and psychological communities. And I've seen that only recently with the pandemic, where everyone had to be making video call appointments and contacting people remotely. So now suddenly it's being seen as very good and very positive. Well, previously we could have gone down this route maybe more than 10, 12, 15 years ago. Maybe not with the same capacity to communicate, but certainly many of these things could have been applied earlier, similar to working from home, how beneficial that is for certain companies and businesses. So, there is a lot more. There's a great scope for further development in this field, and I think particularly in the field of video gaming. I think in the US it's being considered with greater seriousness than with us over here in Britain and also on the continent. And I have seen various services integrating video gaming within their kind of therapeutic methods. I still need to look into this a bit more, and there's constant research ongoing, and therefore requires continuous updates. And as I said, there is a lot more to follow. Right, I need to take a short break, and then once I come back, hopefully the game will be back on. So bear with me for 5 minutes. I'll be back very, very shortly. I need to take a short break. All right, my friends, I think we are coming to the full hour, so we should be able to apply updates and then get back in. So I'm excited about this. I really want to see what the episodes are going to look like. We heard about them already for a few months, and today's the day. Also, I've got to say, I've not been that pleased with the overall comms coming from Bungie. We've heard a lot prior to the Final Shape release about all the ins and outs of what is to be changed within the structure of the game, particularly with Prismatic, new subclass introduced, and then also the Pathfinder being new skills tree. Many detailed bits applied to fragments, to all sorts of things like mods and very lengthy descriptions, but the actual calendar schedule didn't seem to be as clear as expected, and I think it's been really quite messy, quite incoherent in the course of the last week, as the game was plagued by so many technical difficulties, but we've not seen and heard specifically the dates, the times, and everything else related to some of those milestones, the way I see it. And it's been difficult for me to get the correct information. I mean, the latest of which was that presentation yesterday, the presentation based on the Bungie's introduction on episodes. And, you know, people didn't know that this was going to be launched yesterday. And more of the comms were required. And just wonder what community managers they presently have, because the other community manager who was dealing with the PR in the past was excellent. We've always getting regular information on time, but in this instance I thought it just seemed like Bungie was stretched, and I would have preferred to have had everything, you know, laid before me to know exactly what the score was when the presentations or indeed expansions or episodes are going to be coming our way. So for instance, we only discovered yesterday, or a couple of days ago in fact, Playmore, our friend here, indicated he only discovered it on Reddit. Well, that's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? We've heard nothing about this elsewhere. And for me, the biggest change, or the biggest surprise, was the layout of the season. So they told us that the seasons were not going to be carrying on. We'll have episodes as the replacement. But when you looked at the toolbar, it gave you seasons in there, and once you open it, it just looked pretty much the same compared to everything that we were given in the past. So, you know, maybe that's still work in progress. Maybe that is, again, a section of the game that will be further developed. But it just didn't seem... Look, these are just my thoughts. This is my experience of the last week. But at the end of the day, as it's been the case with other big titles, all of that is easily forgotten if what's offered eventually is amazing. The content has got to be amazing, and then everything else is not important. And everyone will understand, if the content is amazing, that hard work's been put into this, and due to some technical mishap, malfunctioning, the problems were indeed caused. And, you know, we'll accept that. I'd say that the Final Shape launch on the technical side is probably the worst that Destiny had so far. But in terms of the content, it's been probably the best ever. And I've not heard one negative comment on the campaign. I've just seen and heard everything the best. And that's across the board, across all platforms. That's including Twitter and Reddit and Discord and Instagram, and you know, it's just everyone is so complimentary about the content of the expansion. They really should have told us that the expansion was to come at first, and then we would have a period of waiting before other things would come our way. It's a better system, I think, for people to be getting everything bit by bit. We don't have to be given all the goodies on the same day, which I guess in the past was the practice. So maybe Bungie can be setting up new industry standards. I also thought they were rushing it with the raid. Lots of people who are hardcore raiders and, you know, veterans of Destiny 1 and 2 indicated the raid was not necessary on the first Friday. But somebody was pursuing that idea. Bungie could have cancelled it for 2 weeks and worked on it and enabled better access to the service, and probably would have a few problems with the actual launch. At the end of the day, when you talk to the guys, they will not give you the exact reason for certain difficulties, and that is not to be, I guess, passing on so-called confidential proprietary information, but that's mainly to do with the shareholders, because the investors in the company or particular project will not want to hear the details, which in fact indicate that such problems could have been prevented. So it gets a bit complicated. It does require a bit of a sensitive approach if you are to be getting an inkling on what really had caused certain difficulties. And I don't think it's just one thing, but the frustration that's grown amongst the Destiny gamers had been based on the consistent problems with the servers experienced in particularly the PvP activity. And that's the reason as to why people were ranting and getting very, very angry. But coming back to my earlier point, it doesn't matter. We'll forget about a few days where things didn't work out if the content is amazing. And what's been offered so far has been very, very good. I'm very pleased with the Prismatic. I think it is quite a remarkable achievement. And also, people who like crafting and modding and creating new things will be very, very happy as the supers are now massively enhanced, and you're also given that degree of choice. You can do it this way or that way. You can apply various supers depending on what activity you enter, and that's great. That's just the way it should be. And also with the overall skills tree, I played Pathfinder now for 3 days on a trot, and I felt the activity was more meaningful. It was making me think more. I had to be considering what I will be doing, what choices I'll have, and constantly as you're doing it, think, am I using the sniper? I'm using it. It makes it a bit more structured, and I really applaud Bungie for that. A lot of these activities before felt completely futile and meaningless. I didn't feel that the lengthy grind in Gambit or Crucible was meaningless at all. So that's the change. That's the change, and that's the concept and the structure. And you want to see, like in any other investment elsewhere in life, that when you invested your time or revenue or effort, you are going to be rewarded. You will have some meaning to what you were doing that will be satisfactory to you overall. And that concept certainly has worked for me so far. I'm curious to see whether they had reset the Pathfinder today, because that will be a major disappointment. I only had like a tiny, like one task left that was not completed yesterday, and I would have been grinding it a bit more, but there was Ubisoft presentation and everything else, the Poi Showcase discussions, and I always watch these things live. I want to really see and hear what goes on there as it happens, and also I want to see the comms and people providing comments, and I kind of follow that on various platforms, and I'll be gutted to see that all the work that I put into it would have gone to shreds. Hopefully they've not reset it, because Pathfinder was not operational before Saturday. So 3 days for Pathfinder were definitely not long enough. And if anyone operated Pathfinder on Tuesday or on Wednesday, just ping me a message, because I would like to know how you discovered it, because I've heard nothing anywhere about how to access it. And while I was doing my stream on Saturday, a pop-up came up that says Pathfinder is now active, and therefore we were able to access it through the Vanguard strikes. And how was I to know? Alright, let's just see whether I can apply this update. Bear with me a second. Apparently it tells me that the game has the latest version, so let's see whether it is operational. And if it is, we'll crack on with activities straight away. It is 6 o'clock. reset and the maintenance are not quite the same, you know. Although sometimes they merge. Sometimes we got to be applying those updates manually. At other times it's all done on the server, so you know, just wait and see. Delighted if we can get in. Says you need to apply all updates, right? Anyone else been able to access the game? Curious. I'll do this again. I know. Tells me that everything is as it should be. Let me see what they said on Bungie Help, whether they indicated that the maintenance is now done and dusted. Let's see. Ah, we're getting in. Oh, that's good. Just received a message from battle.net, and that's linked to Blizzard. Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred is launching in October with a never-before-seen class and more. Pre-purchase today. It's very expensive, but we can access the core game on the Game Pass. And actually, I would have played it day one. Well, not that mean. How about it? I would have played it on the day when it came to the Game Pass, but I've been very, very busy with my dad and his health, and therefore I couldn't. And Diablo is a game that does require that everyday dedication. You know, you've got to be following up on everything that's been completed in order to keep it structured in your mind, with your abilities, with achievements, with the battles, with your crew, with progression overall. And it's interesting, but a lot of people did not manage to complete everything for quite some time as the game was launched, and that was, I mean, initially everyone complained that the leveling up structure seemed to have been too easy compared to the old Diablo 2, but then they were being proven wrong as they everyone stepped in and they realized that the last section of the game was extremely difficult. And we did hear that in Destiny there have been some very difficult bosses introduced, and this raid, the newest raid, had been completed in just under 20 hours, which in fact was the lengthiest completion ever since Destiny was launched first. So it tells you that it was very, very difficult. I'm not gone in, I've not watched, I don't want to watch it either. I'll do the raid together with my community members when the time is right. But in the raid you're defeating the Witness, so you are battling it out in order to complete the saga that was lasting 10 years. And you know, no wonder that the boss and the fight and everything else had to be very different to anything else I've experienced in the game before. And everyone got very pleased with the raid. And if they were doing it for 20 hours, well, you know, there were difficulties in it. And there were hurdles. And in 20 hours, they probably had 20 runs, or at least something of the sort. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I've not read. I don't like watching walkthroughs. That's not something I ever do. That spoils the enjoyment of the game for me. I'll have a look for clues if I'm stuck on a puzzle or something that I cannot crack. I don't have any more the drive to be doing it for several days, you know, on a hurdle, compared to maybe in the 90s. I don't do that anymore. But you can see we are in a queue. So we're in a queue, and that's very similar to what we did have last week. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we are going to be able to get in. And everybody who played the Final Shape wants to get in at 1800 on the dot, which means that's causing the problem with the traffic, and the servers are throttled. I need to talk to the guys from Digital Foundry about this throttled service. You know, what's causing it? What's the reason for that? I'm curious. I'm sure that they would not. Maybe I'll ping them a message and I'll ask. They know everything about the technical side of gaming. And Todd Howard, in his presentation on Starfield, said everyone needs to watch Digital Foundry because all of us do that every single week. So it tells you that the industry leaders, people who are creating the biggest titles, are watching the podcast in order to find out what the industry insiders, the top-notch tech experts, are actually saying about the products and other titles. And yeah, I'll ping them a message and ask, can you explain to me why is it that this is happening? And I'm sure that they will have a very good answer for that. I've got to say, sometimes when I listen to their podcast, I was really surprised about certain things. Like, for instance, in one of the podcasts last year, they were debating whether the Microsoft Cloud Service was as useful as indicated through their, showcase events and adverts and everything else. And their conclusion was, yes, it is, if you are in possession of the fastest internet speed and the latest equipment. If you do not have either of those two, or both of those, it's completely useless. And I was shocked to hear that two guys who work and live in Germany, and Germany has very good, very high quality internet, and they don't live in big cities, they did not have access to fast fiber, and therefore the services were not operational. One of them said that on his PC it was just completely unworkable. There was absolutely nothing that he can do with it. And so that surprised me. I thought it was just to do with our internet connection here in the local area where we do not have fast fiber. But seeing and hearing this was an eye-opener. And you can even see with the presentations like yesterday, they really want to stream in 4K, but due to the sheer volume of the viewers and the sheer, I guess, I don't know what it is really, but it didn't seem to be streaming the picture that was razor sharp. It just got slightly diffused literally throughout the presentation, which is a huge disappointment for the developers. They want people to see how incredibly good the graphics are, how incredibly well they've done with the works and the development, and that's hampered. So there must be a technical reason. Maybe the tech's not as yet so well developed to have that degree of capacity. I remember being in a forum a few years back now, more than 10 years I think, where one of the YouTube culture history department directors was telling us about the problem with storage and what that actually means. And it was interesting because, for me it was a revelation where he said, we keep hearing that the material which is digitally stored never degrades. But who says that? We've not tried it before. We've not gone through the process of keeping it for 20 or 30 years. Maybe it will completely get degraded. Maybe there'll be nothing there. But we don't know. We don't know because generally any organic material will be decaying one way or the other. And this is digital, but the servers are based on metal, and the equipment is being made of something, and that can have an influence. And he said what you were casting in stone would be having that degree of longevity, because you can just blow it up and therefore it doesn't exist anymore. But many other things like photographs or any other materials will be degrading. So it's quite interesting. And also he said the problem with storage, he said people keep imagining the storage is endless as it is digital, but like anything else, it does have its own beginning and end. And he did say that there was a huge problem with storage at YouTube then. Right, so let me just see whether we need to do a proper update, because it looks like it's searching for a new update. Yeah, now it is here. Okay. Yeah, so some news for our friends. Basically, what you need to be doing is you need to be applying your update. So I'm doing exactly that. Applying my update to PS5. Because when I checked it earlier, it didn't give any indication that anything was wrong. But in this instance, so if you're on any of the platform, make sure you're updated. You need to do a full update. And if you're on fast internet, it should be completed in less than a few minutes. It told me initially it's going to be 15 minutes, and now it's gone down to 20 seconds. So, not too bad. Queued? Why is it queued?